Located in Birmingham, Alabama, Barber Motorsports Park is like no other racing venue in the United States, perhaps in the entire world. When you arrive here, at first glance you might think you're at a park or a golf course. In fact, many consider Barber the Augusta National of motorsports, or you might think you're in an art museum. There are several large sculptures spread out over this 2.3-mile road course. Barber is a work of art. And this weekend, more than 80,000 fans have taken to the many unique vistas here to see which of 21 drivers can turn this race into their masterpiece. Defending series champion Scott Dixon, he's been close. In 6 races here, he has finished second 4 times and third twice. He may have a score to settle from last week with Simon Pagenaud, who just beat Dixon to the checkered flag in Long Beach and continues to lead him in the standings. Now, teammate Will Power has 2 wins here and can enter the title race with another today. And Joseph Newgarden hopes he can return to victory lane at the same venue where he picked up his first win a year ago. Welcome to IndyCar Live, presented by Verizon, where we set the stage for today's Grand Prix of Alabama. A beautiful spring day here in Birmingham, and it should stay that way for today's race. A perfect setting to set up on the hillside here overlooking turns 2 and 3, and that's where we are right now. Hello, I'm Rick Allen, filling in for Lee Diffie, who's on pre-Olympic assignment this weekend. Thrilled to welcome you to this unique setting. Right behind me, you can see the elevation change in the opening turns here, and there are several other sections like this over the rolling hills at Barber. This is round 4 of 16 on the season, and quite a distance, both literally and figuratively, from the flat street course along the Pacific Ocean in Long Beach. California last week. This is the 3rd race in 4 weeks this month that began on the 1-mile oval in Phoenix and really showcases the overall diversity of what it takes to become Verizon IndyCar champion. Qualifying was held yesterday and gave this race an interesting starting grid. Points leader Simon Pagenaud starts on pole, but 5 different teams are represented on the front 3 rows, including the 3 single-car teams. On the flip side, Juan Pablo Montoya struggled yesterday and will start last. In 427 prior starts in NASCAR, F1, and IndyCar, the former series champion has never started last. So it'll be fun to see Juan Pablo try to move up through the field. Right now, let's start toward the front of the grid. Here's Katie Hargan.
Sebastian Bourdais will make a season best start in 5th today, but he does have the track record. Sebastian, the big question in qualifying yesterday was how would the Reds react? Now that you know, how does that change your strategy today?
Not so much. We just didn't know what they were going to do for one lap and try and get the best out of them in qualifying. I think I got a pretty good idea what they're going to do in the race. They're going to degrade real fast. It's a warm day, no wind, so the track temp is a lot higher than we've had so far, and the Reds are going to suffer for sure. So we've decided to go out and use the blacks to start the race, and hopefully that Europa car is, coming out on top.
Yesterday you were upset that you were starting 5th. You actually wanted to start 4th. Have you changed your mind?
Well, it's just one row, but obviously, you never know how things are going to shake out at the start. What we really want to start is 1st, but that just wasn't meant to be yesterday. So we got some work to do today.
And Sebastian Bourdais is the only guy in the Firestone Fast 6 starting on the primary blacks.
Well, last year, Graham Rahal started 8th here at Barber, wound up finishing 2nd. You start a little closer to the front today. You start 6th. So is the car good enough, Graham? Because you were awfully quick this morning in warm-up to get that first win in 2016.
Yeah, I think the car's better than it was last year. The biggest key today is obviously going to be consistency and try to keep the rear tires underneath us. And I think it's going to be the same story for everybody. But for sure, it's a big day for us. We need to get this season turned around a little bit. I mean, we've had the pace almost everywhere except for Phoenix, which ironically is our best, finish of the season. But just get a little lady luck on our side, have some good strategy, go out there, have some fun, make some passes.
A lot of talk, obviously, Honda versus Chevy. Is this Honda's best chance, you think, to win this year so far?
Yeah, so far for sure. This is our best opportunity. It's going to be interesting to see what happens here. Fuel saving and all that stuff is going to come. I mean, fuel saving won't be too bad in this race, but, we're going to try to outsmart them, and so therefore we're going to try to save a little, try to go a little longer on the pit stops and all those things. So it'll be interesting to see if we can get the fuel economy up there and get the consistency out of the package and hopefully beat him.
Well, he made it work last year. He would love to do one spot better today, though. Kevin Lee?
Last year, there were a number of storylines here making the race at Barber Motorsports Park highly entertaining, but it was the, quote, local guy that stole the show.
90 great laps ahead of us. This is it. This is what we've been waiting for. Look at Power! Castro Neves defends it. On the inside goes Joseph Newgarden.
That is Newgarden getting past. Wow.
Race leader is in.
Newgarden got around as they roared out of the pits.
It's Joseph Newgarden made a super start and has not looked back.
It'll be very interesting as everybody gets through their last round of pit stops to see where they slot in.
Race leader is on. This has been a super day from Joseph Newgarden.
Hi guys, pit lane.
Is this the day? You got more fuel, you got better tires, let's get at it. The pressure is on this 24-year-old American. Does he have enough fuel? Can he do it? Can he get there?
Just get the drive around these guys. You got more fuel, better tires.
Do not let them get away now. Keep the pressure on. Corner after corner after corner. You know this track. You can do this.
That was fantastic.
We are running out of laps. 88 of 90.
The wait is over. Joseph Newgarden is an IndyCar race winner.
Congratulations, buddy. Your first win here. Nice job. Great job.
It's just been such a long time coming trying to do this. I mean, it's just, I can't believe now is when it happened.
There's a new name in IndyCar in Victory Lane. It's Joseph Newgarden.
And Joseph Newgarden got that first IndyCar win about 3 hours south of his hometown of Nashville, Tennessee. I know you've been asked this over and over, but you've been so close so many times. What was the significance of breaking through here last year?
Well, it's hard to pinpoint, but, you know, everything kind of just went right that day. You know, pretty flawless from start to finish. We were able to make passes. We had a fast car. I think one of the big keys was that we had tires that last. You know, a lot of the Penske boys, they seemed to struggle last year. I noticed Elio right from the start. He was struggling with his rear end. Just could not keep the tires underneath his car as well as us, I thought. So it's a lot of factors. You know, there was a lot of work that was put into that win last year. It was a big day for everyone. At then CFH Racing, and you know, there's a lot of work that was put in from the SFHR side from where I started as an IndyCar driver. And you know, now I think we've got a lot of the same group here. We're going to try and do a repeat with ECR and hopefully have a great day for the Fuzzies car.
And he's got another good chance of getting to victory lane today, Rick. He's going to start in the third position with a good race car.
Great starting spot. Thank you, Kevin. There is the points leader, Simon Pagenaud, one of 4 Team Penske drivers in today's race, and so far this season is getting off to a much better start than 2015, his first racing for Roger Penske.
You know, I've only been in the team for 1 year. I think it was a year to learn. Obviously, the expectation was high. You know, it's racing. Sometimes also you have bad years, and I think that was one of my bad years. It's been a long off-season for us, but it's been the opportunity also to work at improving each other, pushing each other. The 4 of us, we're all learning from each other, and Elio's approach is incredible. You know, he's been at Team Penske for so long. If he's been there for so long, he's doing something right. You know, worked really well with Montoya, especially on the oval. Willie's tremendous on the road course, as we know. Our main sentence is efforts equal results. It's super intense life, but I love it because when you do win, it's the most rewarding moment you can have.
When we come back, we'll talk to Simon about winning the historic Grand Prix of Long Beach and what it will take to battle Scott Dixon for the title. You're watching IndyCar Live, brought to you by Verizon. Go inside IndyCar all season. Download IndyCar Mobile from Verizon. Welcome back to Barber, where we said there are so many works of art here. You might feel like you're at a museum. Well, there is a museum here, just outside turns 9 and 10. George W. Barber was a racer with a passion for vintage motorcycles. Barber started a collection of vintage motorsports vehicles here in Birmingham and moved them to this location when the park opened in 2003. Today, with more than 1,400 bikes, the Barber Museum is the world's largest motorcycle museum and contains the most extensive collection of Lotus race cars. There is a lot of history under that roof. And last week, Simon Pagenaud joined the ranks of those to win the historic Grand Prix of Long Beach, America's longest running street race. It was Simon's first win for Team Penske. And when you race for Team Penske, you're well aware of your rivalry with Chip Ganassi Racing. And through a much debated finish to last week's race with Scott Dixon, perhaps this rivalry has added the next chapter. A picture-perfect venue. The weather is perfect, beautiful skies. 21 drivers will negotiate around an 11-turn street course for 80 laps. Green flags in the air.
The leaders should be pitting here in this lap. We'll see where he cycles out and if Elio's able to hang on to that lead.
And here comes Scott Dixon to pit road.
Going to be interesting to see if staying out one more lap helped him out with track position.
Castro Neves goes by.
might get second here.
Very close there. He gets just in front of Simon Pagino.
Got to make that car very wide now.
Dixon decides to come to pit road early.
Dixon out with a clear road, so he's got to rip off a quick lap here.
And now here comes Elio onto pit road. Elio is just in front of Scott Dixon. Will he be able to stay in front? How close is it going to be? It's Dixon.
There's several cars that still need to pit that are all in contention.
With Pagino is ripping off fast laps right now.
This could be a race-winning pit stop.
This is close.
Oh, he's ahead. This is going to be tight.
But did Pagino cut that yellow line? That looked close on the merge.
Race control is officially reviewing. He was all four, clearly over. They're going to give him a warning.
That could have been the race-winning move.
Here comes the 9. Scott Dixon trying to get aggressive. Right on the back wing. Can he make it happen? Pagino's going to win at Long Beach.
The rules clearly state you have to have 2 wheels on the other side of the line or you get a penalty.
There's an inch on the racetrack there, so I'm good.
Simon's win at Long Beach increases his points lead over the defending series champion to 15 points, while Takuma Sato becomes the top Honda in 6th place. But Marty, it could be a big points day for Simon if he stays up front and Juan Pablo Montoya stays in the back.
Well, Rick, it could be a good point stay for Simon Pagino. The crowd behind us, they would love to see him keep the championship lead and maybe even grow on it. Do you start playing the points game this early in the season, Simon, or do you continue to be aggressive? Because being aggressive is what's gotten you into this position.
Yeah, I mean, it's, you know, we'll see how the race plays out, but at the moment we have a really strong PPG car. I mean, this morning in warm-up, I couldn't believe it myself how good it was. So I guess you got to be aggressive at the start and see how the tires degrade. The fights on tires been really good here, but there is that game of tire degradation. So we'll have to see how it goes. Which tire is the best for us? Is it going to be black tires? Is it going to be the red soft tires? So we'll see, but certainly early in the season, when you're in that position, you kind of want to go for wins, I got to say. But we'll see where Dixon is in Montoya.
The win last week at Long Beach and obviously the pole today, you said things are flowing better than ever. Why?
Well, you know, there are years like that where everything goes well. We worked really hard during this winter, for sure. I mean, the whole crew, the 22 crew is fantastic right now. Number 1 on pit lane, and Ben Bretzman, my engineer, is spot on everything he does. So is Karl Moyer, my strategist. So, you know, it happens like that. Sometimes you're on a roll and you're just going to bank the points as much as you can.
And you've made lots of fans behind you here, too. Simon Pagino going for his 2nd straight win, Kevin.
Well, Scott Dixon has traditionally been a slow starter, so look out because he's already got a win and he's 2nd in the championship. But one more thing about what happened last week. Were you more disappointed or upset that Simon Pagino cut across a little bit early or that he wasn't penalized?
You know, last week was last week. We kind of just got to get on with it and enjoy, you know, what we have here at Barber Motorsports Park. But I think, you know, for clarification, we just want to understand the rules that we're racing under. You know, that's the main thing. If there are no rules, that's fine. But if there are rules, they need to be enforced. So we'll see how it goes down the road here. But definitely excited to be back at Barber Motorsports Park. Obviously, you know, we've raced here 6 times. We've been on the podium 6 times, but never on the top spot. So back in the Coca-Cola car. So we'll be sharing a Coke and a song this weekend, and hopefully we'll be sharing a Coke and a song in Victory Circle today.
Now, as far as the big key to this race, everybody talks about saving tires. How do you go about doing that?
Well, I don't know. Sometimes, you know, it's really out of your hands. But I think you've got to, you know, you got to be easy on the throttle. Obviously, you got to try and roll some speed because at the same time you're trying to save fuel, but that can, you know, hurt the front tires. So it's basically just, I think, early on trying to find out what you've got and how best to deal with it. And you know, going from used reds to new blacks to, you know, another set of new blacks. It's really about, you know, trying to gather as much information as quick as possible and make it into something, you know, meaningful. But I think getting past slow cars or cars that are going to maybe slow you down here is a big difference. If you can get past that car, you can make up so much track time.
Rick, watch for Scott Dixon starting 4th here today.
And now with Townsend Bell and Paul Tracy. Guys, I want to put a period on what happened last week. Let's take a look at the rule that they used to enforce what Simon Pagino did. And that rule is failing to follow designated procedures entering or exiting the pit area. Now, he received a warning, so he violated the rule. He received a warning. There were 3 possible rules that they could, or penalties that they could have enforced in that situation. Because of what took place a week ago, now they have changed what's going on now at Barber.
Well, it's important, Rick, to realize that they haven't changed the rules. They've simply increased their ability to call this pit exit situation. There's now that white line that crosses the pit exit. There's a timing loop in the ground that triggers the beacon, which is under the driver's seat, and this morning the drivers had a chance to practice.
Yeah, in the warm-up, actually one car, it was Mikhail Aloshin, in the 7, he went a little bit wide of that line and got his right side tires on the white line, and they said that he did not trip the wire there. So that would have been a violation, and a penalty would have had to have been enforced. And PT, I know you love how the penalties are a little bit vague.
You guys had me at hello. I'm completely confused now, but there's nothing that I hated in my career worse than not knowing what the penalty was. The gray area, I'm not down with. I spent the majority of my career arguing and fighting and paying fines with the chief stewards over not knowing what the rules are and wanting clarification. So I think that's really what all the drivers want. They just want to know, if I do this, what happens? Not, well, if you do this, this might happen or that might happen. It's confusing for the drivers.
Well, the rules are clear, Paul, in terms of there's 3 potential outcomes as a penalty, but that transponder now makes it so the officials know 100% of the time whether or not a driver was legal exiting the pits.
Yeah, the transponder located right under the seat of the driver. In 6 races at Barber, Marco Andretti has 3 top 5 finishes and starting 19th today. You can follow Marco with the Verizon onboard camera. Download IndyCar Mobile to access exclusive live in-car cameras, hear driver and pit crew chatter, and more only on Verizon. Which IndyCar drivers are in training for American Ninja Warrior? Well, we'll answer that question when we return to Birmingham.
Welcome back to the beautiful Barber Motorsports Park. We are closing in on the green flag. The crowd is arriving. They're excited for today's race, no doubt about it, and beautiful weather here in the Birmingham area. Hey, have you guys ever wondered if drivers or athletes is an age-old question? Well, this should answer that. This is Elio Castroneves training for American Ninja Warrior, the show on NBC. His tryout to make the cast is this Wednesday. Check out that ladder that Elio is doing, and I would say, yes, drivers are indeed athletes. He's going to do it along with Tony Kanaan, Joseph Newgarden, and Ricky Stenhouse Jr. from NASCAR as well. So, Elio, I want to ask you, what did you learn from all that crazy training you're doing?
I learned I can hurt myself pretty easy. It's unbelievable difficult, let me tell you. All respect for all those guys. I mean, it's incredible hard work. You can see the hands are all blistered because obviously you go in and throw yourself to like hanging on a ball or a bar or whatever it is, but it's a lot of fun.
Are you ready for Wednesday? That's the key question.
That is a very key. I'm ready today. I don't know about Wednesday, but today I am ready.
All right, Will, you saw some of that he was doing, your teammate Will Power here, Elio. Would you be willing to try some of that?
Yeah, probably not during the season, honestly. But yeah, I still have blisters, and I don't even do it. But that's from something else.
All right, let's talk a little race today. You told me all weekend long the car's been a little inconsistent for you, Elio. Are you worried about that, and did it get better in warm-up today?
Looks like with the black tires it's very difficult, but with the reds, at least at qualifying, it came alive. So the good news is we have a very nice red tires. We're starting in blacks, a little bit different strategy, and hopefully we'll take the bad out of the way and keep the good all the way to the end.
All right, Will, this has been a very tough place to pass over the last couple of years, but restarts and starts have been very key. So you start on the front row. How big will the restarts be? What can fans look forward to?
Well, definitely the start is important. You know, if you're on the outside there, it can be tough going into turn 1. And the restarts, I honestly think the tire degradation is going to play a bigger part in passing than restarts and so on. So we'll see what happens. I really hope it doesn't go all green because, man, this is one physical track.
It is a very tough race for these guys, and they might have to use the chrome horn a little bit this afternoon. What do you know, Robin Miller?
All right, my first question for Juan Montoya, 2-time Indy winner, is what the hell are you doing back here, son?
The view's nicer.
That's not true. All right, what happened in qualifying?
I don't know. Tires just never came in, the red tires, and yeah, first lap was a fast lap, and our first lap was terrible, so that's what it is. You know, I think our car is pretty good. I mean, it's the best we've been here. It's always been a tough place for me, but it's okay. I mean, live and learn.
The NBC Sports Network people would like to thank you, though, because we have a camera in your car to watch you pass, what, 5-6 guys in the first lap?
We'll see. I mean, it's strategy is a lot of it, and you got to run smart. There's a lot of people on red tires here. I think a lot of people are going to be making crazy moves, so we'll see. Should be fun.
Rear tires key here, keep in mind, is that the most important thing?
But we believe so, so we'll see if they survive.
All right, now, Kathy Penske just left, but I told Roger, you're so far back he couldn't walk back here because he's 79 years old, so he sent his wife. And Roger said he's going to wave at you on the pace lap.
Okay, good to know.
Is that good to know?
Yeah, it's good enough.
Okay, let me ask you one other thing. You've never started last, and then you ask, where?
Iowa, my first year.
Your first year in IndyCar?
Yeah.
Because you almost spun qualifying.
Yeah, we just sucked. Yeah, we were good, and we.
Okay.
You're a step somewhere, and we just sucked.
You're in an awful good mood for a guy starting 21st, so I think he's got the strategy is.
Why is it bad? I mean, yes, it's not great, but you're not gonna finish any worse than you're starting. Look at the bright side.
All right. As AJ Foyt said, that Montoya is a pretty good driver, and he's pretty funny sometimes too. Booth.
Absolutely, Robin, and it's good to see a smile on Juan Pablo Montoya's face. You're watching IndyCar Live, brought to you by Verizon. Go inside IndyCar all season. Download IndyCar Mobile from Verizon.
Barber is the Augusta National of racetracks, but really, the racetrack itself is one of the most challenging I've ever been on. It requires you to go to a commitment level a little bit beyond your comfort zone.
9 times out of 10, something that helps one part of the circuit is going to hurt elsewhere. That's the fun of Barber.
Probably the most intense track that we race on, just because of the G-loads and everything, the downforce that we run on the cars.
Lots of blind corners, can be quite narrow in some spots, and then the facility itself, it's an amazing spot and actually a very beautiful part of America.
We have so many people that enjoy the Verizon IndyCar Series because when you see those cars going super fast to the corners, they were like, wow, this is it.
Barber, I think, is going to just be good memories now for me. You know, it's where I got my first win. It's always going to be a special place.
Joseph Newgarden certainly loves this place. He will start third today. Simon Pagenaud, Will Power on the front row. And tell you who else who loves Barber Motorsports Park, that's the fans. They have poured into this facility today. They are seated on the hillside, in the grandstands, everywhere to enjoy the beautiful weather here in the Birmingham area today. I'll tell you what, they're ready to get some racing going as well in the mid-80s here today and the Birmingham area. And now it's time for today's Invocation.
Race fans, at this time, we ask that you please rise and remove your hats as the Homewood High School Air Force Junior ROTC Color Guard presents our nation's colors. Please remain standing as two-time Pikes Peak Hill Climb champion Pastor Lane Schranz from the Church of the Highlands offers this afternoon's invocation.
Let's pray. Lord God, we thank you for this beautiful day and this gorgeous race course. We thank you that you've placed competition in the hearts of people, and we're excited to gather for today's event. We pray for safety for all officials, race teams, and drivers. We pray for a great race today and pray safety over all of the fans as well. And we just give this entire day to you, and we give you all the praise, the honor, and the glory. In Jesus' name, all Alabama said.
And now, please welcome award-winning country music star Sarah Evans as she performs our national anthem.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still
How about it, race fans, one more time for Sarah Evans. And a special thanks to the Greater Alabama Council for the Boy Scouts of America for unfurling the American flag.
It is an absolute perfect day for racing at Barber Motorsports Park. And joining me once again, Paul Tracy and Townsend Bell. Now, Townsend, a little bit different from last week, 90 laps. How does the strategy play today?
Well, at Long Beach, the fuel windows were very tight, so you had to conserve to make sure you could make it to the finish at Long Beach on 2 stops. Here, easy 3-stop strategy that opens up the fuel windows. That allows guys to decide, push a little harder on a shorter stint, maybe try to stretch the stint a little longer. Last year, this guy, Graham Rahal, he went short on his final stint. That allowed him to have fresh tires and burn all the fuel he needed, and he started slicing up the field like a ninja as he charged his way here past Helio Castroneves down to that hairpin by turn 5, and he was on a charge to catch Joseph Newgarden, who was up front trying to conserve fuel to make it to the finish. Here we see him working Scott Dixon down in the museum corner, turn 9. Again, fresh grip and lots of power. It makes for a very exciting race. Now, Montoya is a guy that's going to start at the back of the field. For the first time in his career, he was just slowest in qualifying. Nothing broke, no mechanicals, just slow. I asked him, in your life has that ever happened? He said, never.
Yeah, unbelievable what happened with Juan Pablo Montoya in qualifying. But obviously the race ending is going to be great. But Paul, the start of the race and restarts are going to be intense.
Yeah, there's a ton of action, guys. When the race starts, these guys just go crazy. First turn, second turn, third turn, all great passing opportunities, getting down into the hairpin, breaking downhill into the hairpin. Guys go outside, inside, try to get a run off the hairpin. There's a lot of action in the first 3 or 4 corners, and Montoya's really got to make sure he doesn't get caught up in anybody else's problem.
Luckily, we have a camera. We'll be able to ride along with Juan Pablo Montoya, see how he does get through the field. We're moments away from the start of today's race. Thank you for watching IndyCar Live, presented by Verizon. When we come back, the green flag will drop on today's Grand Prix of Alabama. Penske versus Ganassi. Over the years in IndyCar, conflict between these two powerhouse teams has remained common. From Will Power going up against Dario Franchitti in Toronto, to Power taking out Scott Dixon in Baltimore. In Long Beach last week, the rivalry was elevated again, this time by Penske sophomore Simon Pagenaud. In the late stages of the race, Scott Dixon pitted early while the leader Helio Castroneves got caught in traffic, a move that pushed the series champion to the lead. But it was the pit stop by Simon 3 laps later that became the center of controversy.
The rule book says you have to have 2 tires on the other side of that line. That's a tough call.
What are they doing about it? They're giving him a warning. What are these guys thinking? Yep, you've got a fan club here on that one.
Pagenaud would hold on to the lead and take the checkered flag, earning his first win for Team Penske, refueling the conflict between these two teams. Today, the series moves to Barber, where Simon leads the point chase over Dixon on a track where the number 9 driver holds a personal grudge. 6 podiums in 6 races without a win.
Well done, boys. That was a sweet way to win.
And welcome to the Verizon IndyCar Series. Indy Grand Prix of Alabama from Birmingham, Alabama, and Barber Motorsports Park. When you mentioned Barber Motorsports Park, the first thing that comes to mind is precision. Everything. The trees, the bushes, the flowers, precision. And that's exactly what these drivers will have to be also. They'll have to be precise around this track.
Yeah, and right here in the middle of the great state of Alabama, Rick, we sit. Barber Motorsports Park is really unique in the country. It's beautiful, but it's also so flowing as it goes through the elevations of the rolling hills. In the quick section here, turn 1, it comes right off the main straightaway. They'll be flying through there at about 150 miles an hour, trying to go side by side, but then it narrows up for turn 2. We'll be watching guys try to dive bomb on those opening laps down in turn 5, the hairpin, and then one of the trickier corners down here at the museum.
It is going to be interesting. 15 corners they'll have to negotiate, but first, we need to fire the engines. Let's go for the command.
Alabama race fans, are you ready? It's time for those most famous words in all of sports. Please welcome award-winning country music star Sarah Evans to give the command.
Drivers, start your engines.
The command has been given. Pit checks, let us know, please.
Cars coming to life as we take on the third road course of the season in just 4 races. The only oval at Phoenix, the second race of the 2016 campaign. 4 different drivers have won to start off the 2016 season. Who will end up out front at the end of the day? You don't want to miss a chance to get in on Honda's fastest seat in sports sweepstakes. Enter at racewithhonda.com. Today's lucky winner is Charles Boyle, England, Pennsylvania, and he's enjoying the ride already. By logging on to racewithhonda.com, Charles won the opportunity to start today's race with Indy 500 winner Gilles de Ferran. Charles, how's the ride going so far?
Good.
Are you holding your breath? Oh,
that's the speed.
You're getting up to speed. Did you tell him where you want to go fastest on the track?
Yeah, Gil's the fastest.
Well, enjoy the ride, Charles.
Thank you.
That's a very special ride to be able to go along with Indy 500 winner Gilles de Ferran. And so as the 2-seater leads the cars out around this track, they'll go around a few times. Let's take a look at how they'll line up the Mother's Polish starting grid. Up front, Simon Pagenaud, Will Power. Simon, his best finish this racetrack, 4th. Will Power has 2 wins. Defending winner of this race in row 2, that's Joseph Newgarden alongside Scott Dixon. Back in row 3, Sebastian Bourdais and Graham Rahal. Graham Rahal put on a show a year ago, going from mid-pack all the way up to 2nd. Back in row 4, 2010 winner Helio Castroneves alongside James Hinchcliffe. The Iron Man is in row 5, Tony Kanaan alongside Charlie Kimball. Back in row 6, the top rookie, that's the 3rd race that Max Chilton has been the top rookie qualifying, and Luca Filippi is in the 12th spot. Mikel Aloshin will start 13th alongside Jack Hawksworth in row 7. Carlos Munoz, his best finish at this track, 6th. And Takuma Sato will start 16th there in row 8. In row 9, this is Connor Daly's first start here. Another rookie in the field, 2-time winner Ryan Hunter-Ray, good guy to start next to. Back in row 10, Marco Andretti. The Andretti teams have been struggling as of late, alongside Alexander Rossi, another rookie, making his first start here. And we mentioned Juan Pablo Montoya all the way in the back. 14th, though, is his best finish at this track. We'll ride along with Juan. He will be carrying one of the cameras, starting all the way in the back. We also will be riding along with Tony Kanaan, number 10. He has the NTNT data on board. James Hinchcliffe with the Lucas Oil on board. Graham Rahal with the Steak and Shake on board will give us an exciting ride. Scott Dixon also will be carrying a camera. Scott currently 2nd in the point standings. Will Power has the Verizon on board. And Marco Andretti has the Verizon streaming on board. You can download IndyCar Mobile to access the exclusive live in-car cameras. You can hear driver and pit crew chatter and more. That's only on Verizon. Now let's go back to pit road and Marty Snyder.
Well, Rick, for just the 3rd time in his career, Simon Pagenaud is going to start from the pole position today. Now, for years, his teammate Will Power was the man when it came to qualifying here in the Verizon IndyCar Series. But yesterday, at the last minute, Simon knocked him off of the pole position. So you got to wonder if that gives Simon a little bit of a psychological advantage over his teammate Will Power. One thing is for sure, it's tough to pass at Barber. Turn 1 is going to be very interesting. Do the teammates play nice, or does Will go for the lead right there? Rick?
Yeah, that's going to be a great question. And we're looking forward to the start of this race. Now, Sebastian Bourdais, who starts 5th, he actually set the track record in qualifying yesterday, just over 66 seconds all the way around this 2.3-mile road course. Take a look at the tire strategy. These drivers, there's 7 of them that are starting on the black primary tires. They're the only ones starting on the blacks.
And I get the feeling that a lot of the drivers in today's field are going to make their tire judgment on the fly. They're going to watch how guys like Bourdais starting up front, how they go on the blacks, how someone does on their own reds, and then make a decision. Do I start on reds and then black my way all the way through the final stints, or vice versa? And that'll be, I think, a decision based on pace when we get going.
The guy that really knows what's going to happen on the reds is Rahal. He did a long run this morning, warm-up on reds, so I think he's got a good indication.
And they go 2 by 2 now. This will be a very interesting start because of the fact that they're 2 by 2. They have to go up the hill and the left-hander before they get on the front stretch. It's Simon Pagenaud, pole winner, and Will Power starting on the outside. 90 laps in front of us from the Grand Prix of Alabama. And
Aloshin.
Look as though they're going to get the green. The caution comes out right away. Mikhail Aloshin, Jack Hawksworth, issues in the back of the pack. That was coming out of that 15th turn.
Looked like a pretty slow start. Everybody was really packed up tight, and I don't know if people were backing off and going and starting and going, but as we see in the back here,
looks to me like as Aloshin is trying to go to speed, he gets hit in the back by Carlos Munoz, and that turns Aloshin into Hawksworth in the 41, and that's the second time this year that Munoz has had some issues there.
Absolutely nothing that Aloshin could have done. He's getting ready there. You can see it just stacks up. Munoz runs into him. He hits Hawksworth, and all the rest of the field luckily escapes through there. So sometimes really slow start.
Really slow, and Pagenaud, it's at his discretion, I think, to set the pace coming to that start zone on the front straightaway. Everybody behind, obviously, very antsy to make moves. Yeah. And it just didn't time out correctly for Munoz.
Take a look at what Marco Andretti saw coming out of the turn.
I'll tell you what, we went green to checker with no yellows. We didn't even get the race started, and we have a yellow at a track that's a lot easier to get around.
We've gone yellow to yellow to start off in Alabama.
Now, one thing you always have to be careful of is on the radio, the drivers sometimes will hear green, 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 as we see Montoya. And no paint job this weekend, Paul. He said he was trying to save a few grams by skipping the paint and going pure carbon on that helmet.
Well, let me tell you something. Trying to save 5 ounces of weight on your helmet is kind of the equivalent of the 220-pound guy having an 11-pound road bike to climb Alpe d'Huez.
And once again, we're going to try it again, 2 by 2 through 14 and into turn 15. Pagenaud, can he continue the momentum? And the caution is still going to wave as the pack not all up behind them.
Yeah, a lot of confusion going on here. Obviously, they weren't ready probably.
Not sure what the issue is there. That looked to be a pretty clean stack again.
They're going quite a bit quicker.
Unless they're going back to review maybe the running order.
Maybe there might be a penalty involved, and they might have to penalize Munoz for avoidable contact, because clearly he made contact with Aloshin for no reason, and
apparently that's the issue, is they're asking for the 7 and the 41 to go to the back of the field. That would be Aloshin and Hawksworth. Now, they were innocent victims of the contact.
Not really fair for them at all. And Munoz stays in the same position, and he caused the accident. So that's a pretty. I'd be pretty upset about that if I was the Aloshin 7 or the 41.
Yeah. So Carlos Munoz there in the red and white, number 26. Will Power, he starts up front. Here's what he had to say on the radio.
He can just come up on. Tell Simon if he can get a jump like that on the start, he can just come up onto the clean line. That gives me the draft. Thanks from Newcastle.
So I talked to Will Power about this yesterday. In previous races at Barber, he has had an issue where he's forced to run the outside of turn 1, and he goes off course and loses a few positions. And he said, I'm going to try to work things out with Simon. And you hear it there. If Simon gets a jump, let him know I'm going to try to drop right in behind him and protect P2. I will not challenge in the first corner.
You can do that with your teammates, but if you're trying to do that with Dixon, as we're coming out, Rick.
Yep, 2 by 2 once again. And Carlos Munoz also has been moved to the back for the start, a lot more fair. So 2 by 2, they come out of 15 once again as we try to get underway. as they come down the front stretch. Simon Pagenaud, Will Power, green flags in the air, we're underway.
That was a very late green as there goes Will Power, just like they talked about. Power slots in behind. See
2 and 3 wide as they work through the 2 and 3, turns 2 and 3, and up to turn 4.
Looks to me like one of the Foyt cars perhaps went off in turn 2 there behind as Pagenaud and Bourdais.
Already contact. Sebastian Bourdais with a broken wing. And he's got Dixon. Dixon stopped in turn 5.
I thought Bourdais was going to save it. He was all out of shape into turn 5 as Hinchcliffe and Kanaan go side by side. Kanaan takes the position.
The guy who's made a great start is Hinchcliffe. Has moved up a couple of spots now. He's working on Kanaan. Kimball. Bourdais has dropped from a great starting position to 8th now. And Dixon now running in last place.
Scott Dixon's got his work cut out for him now if he wants to stay in the top 3 in the point standings.
Well, let me tell you who's moved up, guys. Montoya is up to 13th, challenging Newgarden now.
Just saw the move by Joseph Newgarden there as Montoya back just a bit behind Newgarden. Will Power was
that was Will Power. Easy to get those two
that's
confused.
A lot of positions in one lap. I mean, that's the mover of the year so far.
Sebastian Bourdais in front of you, Katie.
Very frustrating start for him. He has a track record, but now he is falling back through the field. Going to do a quick change for a new front wing.
One of the bad things about this, we knew that they had to have 3 stops, but really around lap 9 or 10 is when they could have stopped for the first time and been able to make it on fuel for 2 more stops.
Yeah, this is too early. And guys, I'm just trying to figure out how in the world has Montoya gained 10 positions, 9 positions there on the start. Brilliant job. And we're going to get a chance to go back and watch the replay from onboard Montoya, and he's on a tear.
He's going to get Chilton next. He's all over the back of him.
Take another look. This is riding along with Scott Dixon. Going into turn 5.
Oh, he just got tagged there, probably by Bourdais, I would think.
Bourdais with the
he's
damage.
Very lucky he didn't get hit by anybody else that was coming around because he was right in the middle of the hairpin. Bourdais slides in on the grass, tags Dixon's back wheel, spins him around. Now all these other cars have to avoid him. He's very lucky he didn't get T-boned and put him out of the race.
And in those situations, Bourdais trying to save the car, 300 feet before that. He's already in a little bit too hot, too deep, crossed up, and doing anything he can to avoid hitting somebody, but he just ran out of road.
Now, Sebastian Bourdais started on the primary blacks. Could that have been an issue, him trying to get into 5 as hot as he did?
It's one of the critical things about the black tires. It takes longer for the tire to come in. Even with those warm-up laps, it's a good point, Rick. Probably wasn't up to temperature or pressure.
Sebastian Bourdais out front. Joseph Newgarden, winner of this race a year ago, moved up to 2nd. And what an incredible run already for Juan Pablo Montoya. From the start, he has made up 9 positions. Here was the start for Juan Pablo Montoya.
Guys got loose. That was Andretti. And I think Connor Daly got by pretty easy. Let's see what happened in 5.
With the issues taking place in 5.
So that contact with Bourdais and Dixon obviously helped, but boy, that looks to be a very measured approach. That's 20 years of Formula One, NASCAR, IndyCar experience bearing fruit for Montoya.
I'll tell you what, the guy we're talking about, Montoya, but what about Andretti, who was ahead of him the whole lap, passing everybody? So Andretti has been frustrated all weekend, complaining about his car, arguing with his dad on the radio about how bad it is, but he passed Montoya and he's ahead of him.
Now Sebastian Bourdais is going to be penalized for avoidable contact. That will be a drive-through penalty for the 11th. Pagenaud out in front, keeping the momentum of that win at Long Beach a week ago. You're watching NBCSN's coverage of IndyCar, brought to you by Steak and Shake, home of the original steak burger, proud sponsor of the number 15 and Graham Rahal. And Simon Pagenaud has put on a clinic early in the Indy Grand Prix of Alabama. He has a 2-second lead over second place Joseph Newgarden. Will Power running 3rd. Graham Rahal and Tony Kanaan is in the top 5. Joseph Newgarden looking strong, wanting to defend the win that he was able to grab a year ago. He was able to get by Will Power in a strong move here going through turn 14.
Whoa, nearly pushed Power off the road.
Pretty clever space to drop in on Power. I don't think Power expected that for a second.
Kevin.
And we remember Joseph Newgarden got that first win here last year, starting similar to that race. He went from 5th to 3rd on the first lap, actually 2nd by the end of that lap, including getting Will Power. Joseph Newgarden said, despite the fact that it's somewhat challenging at times to pass, or at least that's the perception as we fall back a little bit and watch traffic follow through, he thinks you can pass anywhere here, in part because of the tire wear, but Newgarden is on a charge early.
Another driver who's been impressive, we mentioned Juan Pablo Montoya starting at the back. The other driver is Marco Andretti.
Yeah, we're watching Chilton here. He's got a whole train of cars behind him, so he's obviously holding these guys up because there's a big gap in front of him to the next car.
One of the things I'm watching is that right front damage to Alotian's car. You can see his front wing end fence flapping around. We'll have to see if that stays on. It doesn't appear to affect his pace much right now, but yeah, Marco Andretti had Montoya right behind him. The two of them just funneled straight through the field as everybody was sliding around. Look at that, 9 spots.
9 spots on the first few laps, and very impressive for Marco Andretti.
Well, there's nobody that can argue that he's as brave as anybody out there. Some of the starts we've seen him do on the ovals and now here on the road courses, he's as brave as they get. Just he's got to really work on keeping it all together through the weekend and just working on the race setup and qualifying better.
That was Takuma Sato in the 14 that we saw get off track there at the start of the race. This is diving into 5 again from the start. Marco Andretti and how he's been able to negotiate around these drivers to move up 9 spots already.
Slicing and dicing like a ninja.
Well, he went from the lowest qualifying Andretti driver to the highest running driver in the race, passing his teammates Hunter-Reay, Rossi, and obviously Munoz.
And right now, we have Andretti scored 10th. Katie?
Andretti had an extremely frustrating start to the weekend, even at one point calling it demoralizing, but the team threw everything but the kitchen sink pretty much at it last night. Marco very happy today.
Thanks, Katie. Pagenaud has a little over 2-second lead over Joseph Newgarden. Will Power has dropped back to 3rd. Graham Rahal up to 4th. Tony Kanaan is 5th.
I'll tell you who's having a strong race right now is Rahal and Charlie. Charlie made a great start here. He got around Hinch.
Charlie Kimball, and as he was making the pass, when he goes into turn 8, Charlie Kimball is,
I think it was that fade as he left the hairpin. Let's watch here. Kimball's on the outside. Now Charlie has the position.
Is that the old Scott Pruitt fade? Do you think they called him for a blocking penalty and make him give up the position? Because he's squeezing over, and finally Hinch had to get back out of it.
Yeah, but Kimball has the position. Kimball's inside and they're side by side. Kevin, what do you know?
Keep an eye on this. Hinchcliffe was just told about 30 seconds ago they're going to make him give the spot back. So according to what the 5 team is saying, James Hinchcliffe is going to get that spot back on Charlie Kimball.
Problem he has is he's already left Hinch. He's already 20 car lengths down the road. So now he's going to have to slow down and back up to him and let Hinch by. But Hinch has got another car right behind him, so he could lose 2 positions.
Another thing to keep in mind is the evaluation of blacks versus reds in this early stint. Rick, you made the point earlier, and I think we're seeing it here. The black tires do not appear to have any superiority in the first half of this stint. Kimball pretty easily rim-shotted that hairpin corner to get around Hinchcliffe. Kimball on the red tires, Hinchcliffe on black. So there could be a crossover coming as we get into the second half now of the stint and the tires wear more.
And once again, the penalty will be served. He'll have to back up behind Hinchcliffe. Out in front, though, Simon Pagenaud continues his domination in the IndyCar Series. Watch today's IndyCar race online at NBCSports.com on mobile and tablets with NBC Sports Live Extra. Gorgeous venue. Just to the east of Birmingham, Alabama. Barber Motorsports Park. You saw Luca Filippi on pit road now. Alexander Rossi also has come to pit road.
Busy pit lane right now. He pulls out in front of Sato. Sato coming in. Dixon is now in.
Let's go to Kevin Lee.
Takuma Sato coming in, going from scuffed reds, sticker reds this time. Also a front wing adjustment should be coming. There it is, and he's away while they're still on the front wing, Marty.
Kevin, they told Scott Dixon it was Bourdais who wrecked him in turn 5 on lap 2. He had no comment, and then Mike Hall told him, race our race, don't worry about it. Sticker blacks, primary tires for Scott Dixon. We'll see where he cycles out.
He cycles out right with Bourdais, then this could be a problem right here.
Side by side, Bourdais on the inside, Dixon able to get by him.
I think Bourdais knew the better not to race him. Bourdais was on hot tires. It should have been no problem for him to overhaul Dixon, but I think he saw Dixon, knew the mistake that he made, and just gave the position to him as a courtesy.
I'm surprised how quickly the black tires came in there for Dixon straight out of the pits as we see Montoya come to the box.
Juan Pablo Montoya heading on pit road now. Marty.
And guys, Ryan Hunter-Reay is also coming down pit road with Juan Pablo Montoya. They're going to put on sticker red tires for Juan Pablo Montoya, who's gained 11 spots since the start of this race. He's very happy with the chassis. We'll see what those red tires do. Also, Ryan Hunter-Reay leaving pit road with the red tires as well. Stickers for him also.
I'll tell you what, I saw that timing on Montoya's car was a 6.1 second pit stop.
Not sure we've seen anything quicker. It's a short fill though. Remember on the fuel, they've only gone 15, 16 laps. So the fuel is generally what you're waiting on. But if it's a really short fill, those tires have to be quick. They were.
Yeah, the cars hold 18 gallons of fuel. One of the fuel men told me it takes right at 8.5 seconds to completely fill these cars.
Now, keep watching, folks, because this is where things start to get interesting. We've got different strategies we talked about, really wide fuel windows. So guys that are pitting, you know, on 15 or 16, they're going to go 3 long stints to finish. Somebody like Pagenaud, we'll see if he tries to stretch to 24, 25 laps before his first stop.
If I'm Pagenaud, with how well his car's been working all weekend as Andretti comes in, Pagenaud's just pulling away, so he's just on cruise mode.
Marco Andretti has improved the most positions of the field. He said his front tires are going away, so he's just going to get fresh Firestone tires and Sunoco fuel. Meanwhile, Max Chilton, a rookie, this team just told him he needed to relax. He's very frustrated with complaining about downforce, so they're going to make an adjustment and send him back out.
Interesting that Chilton takes blacks off and puts blacks back on. So a little different than some of the front runners.
And the rules for the tires, they will have to use both compounds. So
just once.
Have to run, yeah, just once. But they will have to use blacks. They will have to use reds. Those are the primary and the alternates. Coming out just behind 41 of Jack Hawksworth. And now as the pit stops continue to cycle through, Pagenaud has yet to come to pit road. The top 9 have not been on pit road yet.
Whoa.
And way off track.
Went for it on the outside. He was on hot tires. They were both locked up. Chilton was locked up. They both pushed off wide, and I think whoever was behind them got by both of them.
Here comes James Hinchcliffe. Kevin.
James Hinchcliffe started on the primary Firestones. He's going to a scuff set of softer alternates. He wants a couple of turns of front wing. Looked like just one turn, maybe 2.5. And Hinchcliffe is back out with Sunoco fuel, Marty.
Elio Castroneves said the primary tires were falling off at about a lap 11 for him. A quick stop for that bunch. They put on scuffed red tires for Elio Castroneves, who had some understeer. You see his teammate Juan Pablo Montoya going by, and one turn of front wing to tighten that car up a little bit.
You want to talk about a quick pit stop. Hinchcliffe's stop was 5.8 seconds, 4 tires and fuel.
James Hinchcliffe at this racetrack, his best finish 6th. That was back in 2012. Trying to improve upon that today. Coming back down the front stretch, race leader Simon Pagenaud with the 22.
And I've been watching the pace, Rick, of Simon Pagenaud. About 10 laps in, as power hits pit lane, Pagenaud dropped to 109s. Now he's in 110. So those tires really slowing him down. Marty?
You see Will Power and Tony Kanaan coming down pit road right now. Kanaan said those reds fell off about the same time that Elio Castroneves said the primary tires fell off. For Will Power, it's going to be sticker black. So scuffed black tires for Will Power leaving pit road. You see Kanaan still here. He has sticker black tires going on. A little bit of a longer stop for that 10 car. Power already back on the track. Here comes James Hinchcliffe, the first one of the leaders to pit.
It was an impressive stop for James Hinchcliffe. And you see Kanaan getting out just in front of him.
Cannon's on blacks, though, and they're going to be cold and have to get the pressures up. I don't think Hinchcliffe's going to be close enough to make a move, but he should be able to close this gap in the next few corners. At least here in 5.
He's got Montoya now behind him, so Montoya has been the huge mover. He's gotten by-end ready, Cannon, and now he's right up to 9th. So this guy's having one heck of a run. It's amazing to watch how strong this guy, after all these years from the start of his career to now, it's always been the same.
Joseph Newgarden has decided to relinquish the 2nd spot and come to pit road. Kevin?
He's got a nice open spot. Newgarden, 50 miles an hour, gets it slowed down, pitting from the 2nd position. They started on primaries, as we also will see Charlie Kimball coming in just a moment. This is the sticker reds. Kimball is there right behind him. Good stop for Newgarden and the Carpenter team. He's back out as we watch Kimball also pull away. A little bit slower, but he's also back.
Joseph Newgarden, the highest running driver that has been to pit road. He's running 3rd. He came to pit road on lap 19. Still to pit, Simon Pagenaud and Graham Rahal. And look how 83 of Charlie Kimball blends back in front. Right in front of the 3.
Castroneves on the push to pass. He sees the opportunity to make a move, but he's a little bit too far behind. He was on the push to pass when he exited turn 2. He's going to try the outside. On the push to pass again.
Of Charlie Kimball. Can he get by Kimball as they go down the straight? Side by side as they go into the turn. That's 8 and 9. And Pagenaud has given up the lead. He is on pit road. Pagenaud now in his pit stall. Marty.
20 laps in the book. Simon Pagenaud has led every one of them. He does not want any changes to the car. They're going to put on sticker primary tires and a quick stop under 8 seconds for Simon Pagenaud and his group. We'll see where he blends out with his teammate Will Power and if he can hang out on the lead.
Great stop for Pagenaud, as you see Munoz, who has yet to pit, and will slot into 2nd, but he'll have to stop here in the next few laps.
Pagenaud's even extended his lead. I mean, his car is working so well. He went longer than anybody by 2 or 3 laps. His pace is good, and he came out and even extended his lead on the field.
Pagenaud now in front of Will Power by almost 4.5 seconds.
And in all of that sequencing, Newgarden, obviously Power ahead of Newgarden. They are close, currently running nose to tail, and Cannon trying to close in on that group.
I'll tell you what, Rahal's the only guy that hasn't pitted yet. He's still running 109, so Rahal is the leader on track.
And don't forget that last year, Graham did this exact same thing. He ran long in the early stints, and here he is on pit lane.
Rahal's team wanted him to get those extra points for leading a lap, and he said he is just cruising. He's going to go from the Firestone Red to the Firestone Blacks and fill him up with Sunoco fuel.
Just over 8 seconds for Rahal. There's Pagenaud, race leader, coming across the start-finish line and not even close.
I think he's going to cycle out into 2nd or 3rd place here.
No, I think Power and Newgarden are going to blow by.
There's Power getting by.
It's close.
Joseph Newgarden very close as well, but Newgarden just in front of Graham Rahal.
Definitely made up a lot of ground by going longer. He's the guy that went the longest on tires, and he made up a lot of track position.
Carlos Munoz after the contact to start the race. Back on pit road. And the gap now between Pagenaud and Power, after all have cycled through their pit stops, 3.5 seconds. Newgarden running 3rd. Graham Rahal slotted into 4th. Tony Kanaan is 5th. Carlos Munoz once again was on pit road again. Back out on track. Pagenaud still leading the field around Barber. Such an incredible city and area. Birmingham, Alabama. Full of entertainment and history. And an incredible racetrack in Barber Motorsports Park. Beautiful museum there, 84,000 square feet being added to that facility. 24 laps complete of 90, 66 to go. We could see drivers coming in around lap 36 to 39 again, being able to make it on just one more stop after that, but already different pit cycles for different drivers. Pagenaud stayed out almost the longest of all the drivers. Graham Rahal was the longest to stay out on the track. He led 2 laps, but then right back to Pagenaud out in front. Hinchcliffe having a great stop, running 6th now.
This is how you win races. You win a lot of these races with your crew, and when you can pull off a 5.8 second stop like these guys just did, that's incredible work in the pit lane.
Hinchcliffe has made up 2 spots from where he started.
We watched the numbers on the side of the car. That's the time. And when he leaves, 5.9 seconds.
Under 6 seconds for Hinchcliffe, as he'll dive down into 5 here. Probably one of the most tricky turns on this course.
Well, it's tough, Rick, because it's blind on entry. You're at top speed for this course, heavy on the brakes down to 2nd gear, and the car becomes unweighted as you come over that rise and you have to apply the brakes. Very difficult to find the right balance with the brake bias adjuster as well. As Marco Andretti said in the pre-race show, oftentimes you fix one part of the track here and it really affects the other part. And there's Marco Andretti working hard on his teammate, a former winner here, Ryan Hunter-Reay.
Well, just a couple laps ago, he was ahead of his teammate and they were battling each other. They almost got into each other down in the chicane that led onto the back straight. So these guys have been battling for a few laps.
Andretti Autosport running nose to tail here with Ryan Hunter-Reay just in front of Marco Andretti.
And we should make mention that their rookie teammate, Alexander Rossi, currently leading the Andretti gang, running 10th. And here's Hunter-Reay in that yellow DHL car.
Rim shot around the outside, so those red tires have got some grip.
Wasn't able to get by there.
That's reds versus blacks.
They were looking at it. It was originally under review and no action was taken as the pass is made. Ryan Hunter-Reay used turn 5 once again.
Well, if you can get these reds to last, obviously it's showing us right now that they are faster than the blacks, but the gut feeling from everybody is that they just don't last as long.
Red's a little softer of a compound, should give you a little more speed initially, but as you mentioned, wear away as the blacks, a little harder compound. The primary tires should be better in the long run.
The field is pretty mixed right now. It's black, black, red, black, black, red, 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 black. So there's a mix of everybody's on a different strategy here.
Riding along with James Hinchcliffe as you look at the Firestone telemetry in the upper right-hand corner of your screen. Listen to him go through the gears here on the front stretch.
James Hinchcliffe had a great car on Friday and yesterday. Went a little bit awry in qualifying, and then this morning he said it's the worst car I've had all weekend. He guessed it was because of all the sports car rubber on. It was right before the qualifying session yesterday and this morning for the warm-up, so they were contemplating whether to overreact or not. They didn't make too many changes, and it's come back to where they liked it on Friday and Saturday morning. Car is good so far for Hinchcliffe. They'll go a little bit down on tire pressures the next stop.
And oftentimes the differentiation is from temperature. You know, they come here for the preseason test. The track temp is generally pretty cool. It's up well over 100 degrees now in the heat of the day, and that can dramatically affect tire performance and handling consequently. So they're chasing it, and it's important not to chase your tail sometimes on the setup and let things come back to you. Right now, I have to say, Hinchcliffe looks to have a very strong car as he's following Kanaan.
Yeah, for sure Kanaan is holding him up. I think if he was around Kanaan, he'd pull away from him. I don't know if he'd chase down that gap, but certainly Kanaan is impeding.
That was a Hinchcliffe lap with James Hinchcliffe as he is right in the tire tracks of that 10 of Tony Kanaan. Those two running 5th and 6th. Everyone still chasing Simon Pagenaud, who has a 3-second lead over Will Power, who's taken 2nd over. Tonight on NBCSN, the Florida Panthers fight to avoid elimination against the New York Islanders in Game 6. Coverage begins tonight at 6 Eastern. 2006 Stanley Cup playoffs are on NBCSN. Don't miss a moment. Virtually every game has ended in overtime in those playoffs. As we see, looking back on James Hinchcliffe from Tony Kanaan. Hinchcliffe not able to get by Kanaan, but there's a pretty good sized gap in front of Kanaan. Looks as though he's starting to hold up a few more drivers.
Yeah, everybody's starting to stack up there, making up lost ground behind Kanaan, but that's allowing these three guys, you see Newgarden and Rahal, they continue to open their gap now on Tony Kanaan and his buddies following.
Kanaan running 5th, Hinchcliffe 6th. Juan Pablo Montoya in 7th. How about that? From the back of the field to 7th.
Yeah, a lot of time to go. We're only a third of the way into this race, and Montoya's carved through 60% of the field already. So if he can get by these two guys, for sure, he can close the gap to those guys with a yellow could be looking at a podium.
Marty.
And earlier in warm-up, Paul and I were noticing something. Juan was getting as close to cars as he could. And, Paul, I did ask him about that. He said, yep, that was intentional. I want to know how bad that wake would be from another car because I wanted to come through the field as quickly as possible. Obviously, he learned a lot, made up all those spots. As he told me, we're going fishing today. I'm casting out a line every time I come back off pit road, and we're reeling in as many cars as we can. But that is one thing to keep in mind, isn't it, Paul? That turbulence you get from those other cars certainly affects you when you're behind the wheel.
Well, I think it's going to be turbulence from aero, Marty, but also tire wear. I haven't ever seen the marbles start to accumulate this early in a race at Barber, and you can see them there on the track surface. Now the stints get longer. The first stint, some guys 14, 20 laps. Now they're going to have to go 20 to 24, 25 laps to finish this race. It's going to be a handful as they get towards the back half, and look at it there. Look at the accumulation of spent rubber spit off.
That is.
And that hurts you big time, especially if you're trying to pass somebody, Paul.
Certainly, you got to get offline. You got to drive through all of that, and when you drive through it, it sticks to your tires, and you get to the next corner, and it's like it's exactly what it is. It feels like you have marbles under your tires.
Joseph Newgarden, winner of this race a year ago, driving for Ed Carpenter, and let's hear from Kevin.
And Ed Carpenter, the team owner, will be back in the car at the Indianapolis 500. What are you hearing from Ed about the car, from Joseph about the car so far?
I'm not in the car yet, but he's doing a good job. You know, it's really tricky today. The rear tires are going off pretty quick for everyone, so just trying to see what we can do with the Penske guys in front of us. You know, we're on a little bit different tire strategy. We're hoping to be able to take advantage of the reds early in that stint. Didn't quite happen, so we'll just see what we can do here through the next pit cycle.
There are a lot of choices with tires. You're learning from what Joseph has. What are you learning from everybody else about which way you want to go?
I mean, it's interesting. Through the first stint, reds seem to be better than blacks, and you know now kind of the trend looks like blacks are hanging in there pretty good, and as the track changes. So we'll see. You know, there's a lot of race left.
Ed Carpenter, Joseph Newgarden still running in third where he started.
Impressive run for Joseph Newgarden. We welcome those of you that have been enjoying the NASCAR race. Carl Edwards, congratulations, winning at Richmond just moments ago. We've got a great one here with Simon Pagenaud out in front. After winning the pole, he's been able to hold off some hard charging from Joseph Newgarden and Will Power. Graham Rahal, Tony Kanaan in the top 5. Hinchcliffe just outside of that top 5, trying to get by Tony Kanaan. As Pagenaud has been dominant after winning Long Beach a week ago. For the first time, he has won that historic race and now won the pole for this race and out in front. Marco Andretti in the 27, that red and white car going through the turns. Right behind him, Takuma Sato. White, blue, and red.
And with about 5 to 10 laps until most of the field has to pit for the second time, the drivers are going to be thinking about, all right, which compound do I want to bank on now? What do I need to do on my in and out laps? Marty, have you heard any chatter down there with the front runners at Penske about what they might do?
Well, it's funny. I heard Tony Kanaan get asked that question. He said, hey, do you want used reds or new blacks on this next stop? He said, I think I want new blacks, but you guys can see a lot more than I can. I'm going to leave it up to you guys to make that decision, but that's a big call. And you know it, Townsend, from the race last year. Do you take on the red tires? Do you take on used red tires, black tires, or used black tires? A lot of debating to be done in these final stops. Back for more from Barber Motorsports Talk, including the next stops.
Welcome back to Barber Motorsports Park and the Indy Grand Prix of Alabama. Out front, Simon Pagenaud has led 34 of 36 laps complete. Graham Rahal the other 2 out front. Will Power, Joseph Newgarden, Graham Rahal, Tony Kanaan, the top 5.
Looks like, Rick, we might be getting an answer to the tire question there, as Rahal was all over the back of Newgarden. And now we're on board with Montoya, who continues his charge. He's up to 7th, Kevin.
Actually, let's go to Robin. Robin, you ruffled some feathers maybe there with the interview before this race started with Juan Pablo Montoya.
Impossible to ruffle his feathers, Rick. He's unflappable. But what's funny is, before the race, he says, thank God we only come here once a year. This isn't like NASCAR. We got to run here twice a year because I just don't know how to get around this place. I don't like it. It's a beautiful racetrack. I'm only glad we're here one time a year. And I said, well, why don't you do something about it at the start? And I say he pretty much did it.
He absolutely did it. His best finish at this track is 14th, and already he's running 7th. And Montoya may have an issue with his shifter. Let's listen into his radio.
Steering wheel looks to be operating properly. Because mechanically here, there's like rubber or something got behind the shifter, and it's very mushy.
And guys, what was going on is Juan had said for a couple laps, something is wrong with my shifter. It won't get into gear as crisply as it would before. And then they said, well, it's working fine here. So you heard the back end of the conversation. He thinks perhaps a piece of rubber got behind the paddle shifter, Townsend. That's got to play havoc when you're trying to shift gears like that. He said he almost has to kind of jam it in gear because it's mushy, as he described it.
Well, it's an electronic switch, but it has a mechanical, it's a mechanical lever that you actually click, but all you're doing is trying to click a switch, and it's got to feel very strange because normally it has a nice clicking feel to it. Crisp feel.
Well, there's lots of rubber flying off of these tires. As we were watching Montoya, you could see a piece of rubber fly and land right on the camera, right in the center of the lens. So it is a possibility.
Chasing down Joseph Newgarden. Rahal. Very impressive a year ago at the end of this race.
Now
in the middle of the race, take a look at this.
He's got a run, and they're both on push to pass, and he's still getting by him.
Newgarden trying his best to defend, but it looks like we've seen the crossover on the tires now. We're about 5 laps maybe from Newgarden having to pit, and he's really struggling with the Reds. Katie.
Alexander Rossi's another Andretti car that has made massive improvements today, but he is complaining of understeer, so they made a wing adjustment and sent him back out on Firestone Blacks.
We mentioned the push to pass that we saw Graham Rahal use. He has 8 push to passes left. He has the most of any in the top 10. Up front, Simon Pagenaud has 6 remaining. Will Power 6 as well. Like I said, Graham Rahal has been able to move up to 3rd and still has 8 push to pass. 4 for Joseph Newgarden, and Tony Kanaan has 5. He's running 5th. Look at our Chevy driver update as Simon Pagenaud, Will Power 1 and 2. Then Joseph Newgarden, Tony Kanaan, Montoya, and Helio Castroneves in 8th. James Hinchcliffe has decided to make his way onto pit road for his second stop. Kevin.
Hinchcliffe in 6th position, so he's picked up a couple of spots. The car was great leading into qualifying. You made a mistake. They were disappointed to be where they were at. This is going to take a little longer, the right rear a little bit longer. As we see a long line of cars coming down pit road. Hinchcliffe is away. There's Takuma Sato coming in for AJ Foyt Racing. Sato is the longest tenured runner for Foyt in quite some time, his 4th consecutive season, Marty.
Scott Dixon on pit road. The car has actually not been that bad for Scott Dixon, but he had to come all the way from the back, so he's only been able to make it up to 13th. No chassis changes for the car, but they do put on scuffed reds for Scott Dixon.
And a ton of front wing change on the front of Dixon's car. It looked like they took out, or I don't know if they took it out or put it in, but there was about 4 turns of front wing that they changed on the car.
The second round of pit stops continues as Joseph Newgarden comes in front of you, Kevin.
Joseph Newgarden coming down, making stop number 2. He is coming off the Reds, and they're going to go to the primary, so let's see if they want to hope for a longer stint this time. Last year's winner lost a position just a moment ago to Rahal on track. He's back out. Pretty good stop, 9 seconds.
I don't know if you can go with a longer stint since we've gone virtually green since the drop of the green.
Well, he's going to have to if he's going to make it on one more stop. 50 laps to go, so he'll have to start thinking about saving fuel. Here's Hunter-Reay.
Hunter-Reay has been waffling on whether to go to the Reds or the Blacks. They're going to take the red Firestone sidewalls. Ray Gosselin told a moment ago that he's probably going to be racing mostly by himself if that makes any decision, as we see Marco Andretti also on pit road.
So 2 Andretti Autosport drivers, nose to tail, they'll come off of pit road. The blend line, not an issue yet today, but we still have quite a few stops to go as Will Power has come onto pit road now from 3rd. Power will be pitting now on lap 42, and Marty's in front of him.
And Rick Timsendrick called Will Power to pit road very late in that run, a couple of turns before he was going to come to pit road. You're going to see the sticker red tires go on for Will Power. No wing changes on the car. And also Tony Kanaan and Juan Pablo Montoya coming down pit road. 7-3 on the stop for Will Power. The debate for Tony Kanaan finally settled. They're going to go with sticker black primary tires. They saw what Rahal was able to do at the very end of that run. You see Joseph Newgarden going by right now. Sticker black tires for Tony Kanaan. For Juan Pablo Montoya, sticker red tires, and also wing adjustment for Montoya as well. Where are all of these guys going to blend out? Going to be interesting.
Yeah, here comes James Hinchcliffe. Where will they end up? Can Hinchcliffe get in front of Kanaan? It's going to be close. Kanaan stays on the outside. Hinchcliffe tries to get by him as they go into 3.
Kanaan hits the button.
Those reds come in fast. He's going to try him on the outside.
Coming into 5. Kanaan has a preferred line on the inside. Can Hinchcliffe hold on to it out here? He does. Hinchcliffe stays in front of Kanaan. What a run for Hinchcliffe.
That's the difference between having warm red tires and cold blacks. Now that should come back to Kanaan as he gets tire temperature, and great racing from two guys that respect each other and gave racing room. Here's Castroneves to pit lane.
Elio's coming to you, Marty, but he's got a long way till he gets there.
Elio Castroneves coming very slowly down pit road at the 50-mile-an-hour speed limit. It's got to seem like an eternity when you're out on the racetrack doing 150-some miles an hour. He will hit pit road. He said the car has had a little bit of oversteer for much of the day. It's going to be sticker red tires for Elio Castroneves. We'll see if they make a wing change. They do not. Waiting on the fuel. Roger Penske makes a call to head back out on pit road, back out on the racetrack. We'll see where he cycles out as well. Simon Pagenaud, his teammate, the leader, about to hit pit road this lap.
And Elio just behind Kanaan. Elio in that blue and white number 3. There's Tony Kanaan with Juan Pablo Montoya just behind him.
Montoya's on those reds. He's going to have more grip, so he knows he's going to have to get by him here. So we got Rahal coming to the pit lane.
Graham Rahal's coming to you, Katie.
Graham Rahal said pit strategy is the reason they lost this year. This year, they're right on pace. He's going to go to the Firestone Blacks and head back out.
Leader Simon Pagenaud on pit road. He has led all but 2 laps and has not had one complaint about the car today or his pit stop. 7-6 on that stop for Pagenaud, who should easily keep the lead here at Barber.
Pagenaud trying to hold on to the lead.
Already getting now into lapped cars. He's going to lap Connor Daly. So now he's got some traffic. So this could help Graham Rahal because he pitted with him. And I think Graham Rahal has moved up into 2nd place now.
46 laps until the end of this race. You could break it into 2 segments now. 23 laps. That's really 2 pretty good little stints that they'll have to be on.
Yeah, some of these guys pitted at lap 40, like Newgarden, Dixon. That's 50 laps to the end. You're going to have to do 25 and 25. So, maybe hoping on a yellow to try to cycle back to the front, burn more fuel. I think that was actually Connor Daly unlapping himself by staying out.
Elio able to get by Tony Kanaan. Now did they move the crossover? The crossover doesn't work. Tony Kanaan stays behind Elio.
And Tony Kanaan has burned 8 of 10 push-to-passes so far in all this action. Desperately trying to hang on to spots until those black tires start to be an advantage.
Joseph Newgarden only has 2 push-to-pass left as we have a lot of laps to go.
Certainly what we're seeing right now, Townsend, in the short haul, the reds are faster. Right out of the box, they're faster. As the run goes on, they fall off and the blacks get better. So it's comers and goers is what we call it.
Yeah, well, speaking of that, one of the gaps we've been watching is for the leads with Simon Pagenaud had about 3 to 4 seconds over Will Power. Now that's dropped down to this, less than a second.
And here we go.
Here's Power on reds, Pagenaud's on blacks.
So he's closing the gap now to Pagenaud, so he's got to make this happen and get up there and get a chance at him.
The gap now just a second. Simon Pagenaud with 5 push-to-passes. They call him overtake or Will Power. He has 3.
Another thing to keep in mind is that Power pitted on 41, Pagenaud on 43, so Pagenaud probably has a little more fuel to use to get to the end of the race. If Power's going to make it happen, he knows it needs to happen early on in this stint.
And you know what the issue, I think, for Pagenaud, this is really the first time he's ever had a car in front of him the whole race. He's had clear sailing, nothing in front of him, clean air, and now he's got Connor Daly about 10 car lengths in front of him, and certainly that's going to cause turbulence and make it hard for him to close that gap to him.
Just at the halfway point. 90-lap race, just passing halfway. Simon Pagenaud has been out front 43 of the 45 laps. Graham Rahal the other 2. Pagenaud continuing his dominance. Welcome back to the Indy Grand Prix of Alabama. From Birmingham, Alabama and Barber Motorsports Park. Pagenaud still has just over a second lead over Will Power, but Pagenaud may be questioning the tires that are on his car. We listened into his radio moments ago.
The reds go off, that's why we went to blacks. Yeah, but the blacks are a lot slower. No, they're not. Not after 4 laps.
So as we listen to his crew chief, Kyle Moyer, who's team manager. He's one of my team managers at Team Green. He says that the Reds have a 4-lap advantage at the beginning of the run, and after they stabilize, the Blacks will be fine.
And right now, Simon Pagenaud should feel comfortable because he has been out front and really no one has challenged him. At the very beginning, or the attempt at the beginning of this race, it got a little bit hectic in the back as they came out of turn 15, but once it was underway, it was the 2 of Juan Pablo Montoya who was very impressive once they got going. But when they're going into turn number 5 after the start of the race, that is the 11 of Sebastian Bourdais getting into the 9 of Scott Dixon and turning Dixon around. A penalty issued to Sebastian Bourdais. Then it was Joseph Newgarden with an impressive run, able to get by Will Power. Newgarden moved up to second. Power was back to third. Then the block that was put on. Charlie Kimball in the 83 put the block on the 5 of James Hinchcliffe. He had to give that position back up. Lap 39. What an incredible run by Graham Rahal. Both on the push to pass, but he's able to get by Joseph Newgarden, and Rahal took third away from Joseph Newgarden. And now we're on lap 50 of 90, 40 laps to go. Simon Pagenaud out in front, still with just a 1-second lead. As we go through the field, we'll start with Barney Snyder.
Rick, you know, Simon Pagenaud told me on Friday, things are flowing for me maybe better in my career than they ever have right now. In my head, everything is going perfectly. And for a little support this week, he has his mom, Sylvie, in from France. She takes in about a race or two every year. She came in on Wednesday unannounced. A happy surprise for Simon Pagenaud. His teammate Will Power hanging out in second place right now. You think there's no points pressure on Will Power since he missed the race at St. Pete? He told me no, we still want to win this championship. We just have to gain some points on the guys in front of us. Tim Cindric told him on the radio, hang out there, take care of the rear tires. Maybe we can have a shot at Simon in a little bit. Katie?
Graham Rahal told me that he re-watches old races while he works out to try to learn what he could do better in the next race. When he watched Barber from 2015, he only wishes he would have pitted earlier when he was stuck in traffic. Then he would have been closer to Joseph and could have won at the end. So look for them to stay on conservative strategy all day.
Katie, Joseph Newgarden has been as high as second after starting third, running in fourth position right now. They just told him he's gaining about a 10th a lap. They're happy with the car right now. Behind him, we'll find James Hinchcliffe. He's worked his way up to fifth. The car is much better this stint. He really likes how the front end is feeling. They dropped the air pressures a little bit last time around, so Hinchcliffe has an opportunity to keep moving forward, Marty.
Juan Pablo Montoya has gone, Kevin, from 21st to 6th. Started last, he's up in the 6th position, and the myriad of issues, not only starting last, they've had shifting issues all day long. And he told me earlier this week, we learned last year we got worse as the weekend went along. This year, they're exact opposite. They're running very well here on Sunday. Elio Castroneves in the 7th position. On the last set of tires, Roger Penske told Elio they had a blister on that set. He said, how was it at the end of that run? He said, terrible. He said, take care of it on this run to make sure we don't have that on this run. And Tony Kanaan back there in the 8th position. He said his car has been terribly inconsistent all weekend long, but it's much better today. A little bit of understeer for TK, but that's about it, Katie.
Charlie Kimball has hung out quietly around 9th position all day, and he said that's about the way the rest of their season has gone too. He's 10th in points, but hasn't had any particularly good results. They've been extremely consistent, and that 9th matches up with that. Kevin?
Katie, it's been frustrating for Ryan Hunter-Reay, who has always been good here. He's won 2 times. He said before the race today, he said, I just don't think the car has a strength. I wish I had something more insightful to tell you. But right now, we're just trying to figure things out as we go. Well, it is a little better. He's gone from 18th to 10th, and right now, he said he's just trying to keep Scott Dixon behind him, Marty.
And Scott Dixon is in the 11th position, as you can see, as we ride on board with him. Remember, right here in turn 5 is where he got spun out on lap 2 of the race. He has slowly made his way forward. He hasn't said a word about the contact with Sebastian Bourdais on lap 2. Progress slowly for Scott Dixon coming back up to 11th. Katie?
Marco Andretti had a horrible start to his weekend, but statistically, this is one of his best tracks. Only Scott Dixon, Will Power, and Simon Pagenaud have better average finishes than Marco. Marco really taking advantage of that today.
And Marco Andretti needs a good finish, as the start to the 2016 season hasn't been the greatest for him or Andretti Autosports, as we see Pagenaud trying to get by the slower traffic now.
And this is a problem for Pagenaud because Connor Daly has every right to fight to stay on the lead lap. And you can see he's fighting Pagenaud hard, so he's not making it easy. Well, and Pagenaud had a 5-second lead on second place, and now Power's there.
He's forcing Pagenaud to burn push to pass, too.
Exactly, yeah, because you can see the push to pass was just on. So, you know, Connor's within his right to do this, but obviously, you know, Pagenaud's the quicker car on the track, but he doesn't have to pull over and just let him drive by.
So, guys, you have one more pit stop left. Paul, do you go to reds and take the high grip advantage for track position, or do you go for blacks and go for more consistent time?
Well,
what are these guys
he started off so strong on those reds, and he drove away from the field. So, you know, if I'm him, I go back to my last set of reds, which will probably be sticker reds. And as long as he can get clear of the traffic, I think he'll be fine. But this right now is a problem for him.
Well, that has played into the finishes of these races for Pagenaud. It happened a week ago at Long Beach, where we had the closest finish ever at Long Beach because of traffic in front of Pagenaud.
Well, the other thing is that Graham Rahal, I think easily the fastest guy on blacks right now throughout the run. He was really strong in practice as we ride on board with him now. His pace has been in the 109s lap after lap.
And Rahal, after the pit stop cycle, Rahal was 6 seconds behind the leader. Now it's down to 3.7. So he's closing in, and we're going to have a three-way race here. You can see now he's in the picture. So he's closing the gap down to the leader as well.
He's being held up. You're going to be able to keep your eye on all of this. We'll stay side by side, but Pagenaud trying to hold on to that top spot. Will Power closing the gap, as is Graham Rahal. And welcome back. As you've seen, the gap closed now between Simon Pagenaud and Will Power. Pagenaud out in front. 54 laps he has led now, as Will Power has closed the gap to within 0.6 of a second. They have also brought in the 15 of Graham Rahal. The blue flag has been shown.
And you can hear he's fuel savings mode. You can hear him lift out of the throttle real early and coast into the corner as we watch here. He checks out of the throttle way early, just coasting all the way into the corner. No throttle at all through the chicane. So he's on fuel saves mode. I think what he's going to plan to do is try to run a couple laps further than Pagenaud, maybe jump him in the pits.
I don't think he'll be able to, Paul, because Pagenaud has 2 laps further on the last stop. So Pagenaud last pit on 43, Power on 41. So I think Power has to save fuel just to make it to the end on one more stop.
Connor Daly in the 18, just in front of Simon Pagenaud, and they have shown him the blue flag, but in essence what that means is you've got somebody right behind you.
And look at Rahal. He is now ever the closer. Every lap he's closing in. So now he's within a couple of seconds, and Connor Daly is getting the blue flag, but he's not a lap down, so he's allowed to race and hold on to his lead lap as long as he can.
Marty.
Let's chat with Tim Cindric and find out if Will Power's just hanging out, or he might try and pass his teammate. At this point, have you told Will just to kind of hang out and save tires, or can he pass Simon?
Well, we'd like to be able to pass because we're getting held up here, so certainly we'd like to be going forward. So this is all coming into play for this last pit stop, and I see Rahal's closed the gap from 5 seconds to 1.8. So you know, I know he's got a set of red tires here at the end, and let's see how long the old red tires hang on at the end for some of these guys.
About how long until that final stop?
I'd say about 6-7 more laps.
6 or 7 laps. So you heard it from the leaders to coming to pit road for that final stop, Katie.
And Ricardo Nault calls the shots for Graham Rahal, who is just behind Tim Cindric's driver. Ricardo, what is the strategy to get Graham out in front of those Penskes in this last stint?
Well, we're just going to push as hard as we can. Right now, Graham has a little issue. It seems like his right front wing may have broken, but it doesn't seem to be hurting his car all that much. We're just going to keep on pushing and see how it goes. The back markers are helping us out. I think we've got about 10 laps to pit, and we'll just see if we can get him in the pits, I think.
Stickers or scuffed reds left?
That's up to him. Right now, I'm thinking new reds.
All right, you heard it from Ricardo Nault, if they can get Graham Rahal out front.
Wow. Strategist telling him.
Same strategy as last year. He finished the race on sticker reds. He's closed the gap to the leaders, so we could see a repeat, but in this case, it could be for the win.
And as he gets closer to Power and Pagenaud, he's able to save more fuel just by getting a little bit of a toe on the straightaway, helping that Honda glide a little stronger through clean air.
And when you close the gap like that, if you're Rahal and you've closed a 6-second gap, you get confidence. You know, I'm catching these guys. I'm faster than them. I know I can win this race now. You see the blood in the water. You're like a shark, right? So he's going to just be going for it.
Graham Rahal, the fastest Honda, scored the best. And you can be a part of Honda's fastest seat in sports sweepstakes. Just go to racewithhonda.com to sign up.
Now, to get by, you're going to have to dance out in those marbles, Paul. It's starting to look like Oreo cookie toppings at the yogurt shop out there. And if you run wide on hot tires, it's going to be a mess. And Pagenaud knows that, Power knows that, and certainly Graham Rahal will be thinking about that. I've got a strong car. Maybe I save it for that pit stop in those sticker reds.
Ran wide a little bit off the hairpin, so he's really got to be careful. This is, like I said, this is the first time all race he's had to deal with turbulent air and actually race with guys, and he's not willing to stick his neck out and get on the marbles to make a move.
It's Connor Daly that's in 18, just in front of race leader Simon Pagenaud. Connor Daly is on the back end of the lead lap. Simon Pagenaud has been out front now for 57 laps, and right behind him is Will Power and Graham Rahal. Marty?
And guys, one thing to keep in mind with the tire strategy on this final stop is that a few teams have reported a blistered right front tire when you use that red alternate tire. So many strategists are telling their drivers, take care of those tires. And we were thinking going into the race it was going to be the rear tires, which you certainly have to take care of as well. But it's been the right front that's been the issue for a lot of these guys. So that's the debate right now. Do you go with those red tires and risk a blister on that final stint and final run? As Montoya just said on the radio, listen, they're a lot faster at the beginning. They do fall off, but I think that speed at the beginning is worth it.
Well, I think the other thing, Paul, is do you want to be the guy to make the first stop, the first one to make the last stop, or the last one to make the last stop?
Well, I mean, the question really is, all the racing has seemed to have happened right after the pit stops on the in and out laps, on the out laps mostly. So that's been the difference between the blacks and the reds. So, it's all going to be very, very interesting to see who takes blacks or reds at the end.
Two Chevrolets out in front as we look at our Chevrolet driver profiles. 2007 champ car Will Power and Simon Pagenaud, Team Australia. And right now, it's Pagenaud and Will Power running 1 and 2 here in the Indy Grand Prix of Alabama.
Weren't quite as cordial a couple years ago at Long Beach. These two have been going at it for the last few seasons, and I know Pagenaud really looks to Will Power as kind of the measure, for good reason, because Power has been the force. He's been the bar for road and street circuits the last 5 or 6 years in this series, and right now he leads, but he knows that Power's going to do everything he can to get by.
Power still trying to reel in Simon Pagenaud. The gap now 9/10 of a second separating the top two. Graham Rahal was disappointed a year ago when he came up 1 spot short of winning this race, and right now Graham Rahal is one of the fastest on the track as he's closed the gap between he and Will Power. That's a fight for second as they both continue to chase after Simon Pagenaud leading. Still, Pagenaud can't get around Connor Daly. Connor Daly has been able to hang on to a lead lap position.
And now we are 26 laps from the finish, about to be 25. Somebody's going to duck into pit lane here, probably on the next lap, and try to be the first ones to get back into clean air. And if I'm Graham Rahal, I'd think long and hard about being that guy, because he's much faster, but he's lost that advantage now that he's caught the pack.
Graham's really got the knife between his teeth. We watched the last lap. He was trying the over-under to get a run on Power. Power's starting to struggle a little bit as we watch here. Montoya makes a move on Hinchcliffe. Push to pass, down to the hairpin. Around the outside to make contact. He's lucky he didn't get spun there, but I think there might be some damage to Hinchcliffe's front wing.
James Hinchcliffe has just been trying to hang on to make his fuel numbers so he can get home on just one more stop, but he said the right front has gone. He's lost a couple of positions, fallen back to 7th, but he does have a set of sticker reds. Not everybody has that, so Hinchcliffe might be able to make a little better. Also Sunoco fuel, and he's back out.
Scott Dixon coming down pit road. He finally made his way into the top 10, but it's been a struggle of a day. After starting 4th today, high hopes for the day. In warm-up this morning, he was one of the best cars on those primary tires, but then got spun on lap 2 and turn 5. You see Dixon coming down pit road for his final stop of the day. Looks like it'll be primary tires going on for Scott Dixon. Will Power also coming down pit road from the 2nd position. We'll see what happens here, and they are going to make the call for primary tires for Will Power. So that's a bull. bold move. We expect a lot of the teams to go with the red, softer, quicker tire, but we have seen all day long that these primary tires are better at the end of the run. So Will Power pitting a little bit earlier, seeing these primary tires will get him the win here at Barber Motorsports Park, waiting for that long fill of fuel. 10 seconds on pit road for Will Power. Kevin?
Joseph Newgarden makes his last stop. He has scuffed alternate reds to go back out to make it the rest of the stint. Marty?
Tony Kanaan coming slowly down pit road. He's had a car that's had understeer for much of the day. You see him swing underneath our camera. It's going to be red tires for Tony Kanaan. He's going to put those on. It's going to be sticker red tires for Kanaan. Leaving pit road, waiting on that fuel. There he goes back out on the racetrack.
A long stop for Will Power. That is probably going to hurt his chances of being able to get a win.
Mean, right now, Pagenaud's got to go. He's got a clean track now. He's got to lay down some fast laps, Townsend. Here comes Rahal. This is the chance for Rahal to jump Power.
Graham Rahal smells blood in the water as he closes the gap on the Penskes. You heard the call from Ricardo Nault earlier. They're going to go with sticker reds and fill it up with Sunoco fuel.
And he's going to be racing Pagenaud, who's in his box.
Close. Pagenaud on pit road. Marty.
Simon Pagenaud, the leader, coming onto pit road here. There was a big debate about whether to go with red or those alternate tires, the primary tires. We'll see where he cycles out. He beats Graham Rahal. It was indeed the red tires. See if his teammate Will Power catches up any ground at all. Looks like Will Power's going to cycle in, maybe in third, guys.
Connor Daly still in the mix with the leaders. He's got to get, Rahal's got to get by him, but he is past Power now in the pits.
The difference is Connor Daly is now a lap down. As we see Castroneves make his final stop, Connor Daly is officially a lap down. He's between first and second place. Now the officials might intervene. Here comes Hinchcliffe racing Castroneves.
The thing I noticed on those two pit stops, we see these two guys getting after it. I think that Pagenaud is on used reds and Rahal's on new sticker reds. So that could be the difference on the longer haul here. Rahal's got 6-7 laps less laps on his tires, which may pay off at the end of the run.
But Pagenaud has a 3-second gap, so it's going to be tight for Rahal to make up that time.
The other factor we've got to look at this is the push to pass. Graham Rahal has 8 left. Simon Pagenaud only 3. So there's another 50 horsepower that Graham Rahal could use to his advantage to try to catch up and get around Simon Pagenaud.
And if he doesn't use any now, certainly with 8 laps to go, his team should tell him every lap 50 horse, 50 horse.
Yeah. I don't know who he's behind here, but if he's still behind Connor Daly, which I think he is, he's got to get out of that turbulent air and get by him and have a clean run to Pagenaud, because you know now Connor, like you said, Townsend, he's a lap down, so he's got to get closer to him.
Well, he's made his Connor's made his last stop, so really it's very difficult for him to get back on the lead lap at this point. He'd have to pass Pagenaud legitimately on the track.
Graham Rahal running second now because of the long pit stop for Will Power. Will Power drops back to third. Rahal 3 seconds, a little over 3 seconds behind Simon Pagenaud right now. And the car of Connor Daly in between Graham Rahal and Simon Pagenaud.
And right now, Pagenaud is opening up a gap. So that turbulent air off of Connor Daly's car potentially already affecting Graham Rahal that far back, because the gap was at 3 seconds. It's almost 4 seconds now.
How aggressive can Graham Rahal be with fuel? Can he go hard with fuel, because he's got upwards of 25 laps that he's got to go on one stint?
Well, he's I think 24 laps to the finish, and I think he can run full Rich. The biggest issue is going to be turbulent air if he cannot clear Connor.
Will Power, after that long pit stop, back now into third. Joseph Newgarden fourth. Juan Pablo Montoya, after starting at the back of the field, has made his way all the way up to fifth. Take a look at Will Power's stop.
Guy on the rear tire had a problem, but still waiting on fuel, so a little bit slow on the rear tire, but the fuel is the issue. So,
and I promise you, Will Power is not liking these black tires at the start of the stint. He's lost about a second a lap to Pagenaud and Rahal so far, and Pagenaud continues to open up the gap. 4.5 seconds now to Rahal.
Now the problem Rahal's gotten is now he's got Connor, he's got turbulent air, so it's hard to close. And Connor's pace is fast. It's not like Rahal's all over him and can't get by. He's got 20 car length lead on him, so it's not like he can just pull over and move over and let him go by.
Let's listen in to Graham Rahal. This is what he had to say on the radio just moments ago.
Please go out, Connor, for help. Copy. Generally speaking, coin doesn't help much. Mine heavy lived in my stepdad's house for free for 2 years.
You can always use that. If the guy lives in your stepdad's house for free for 2 years, I believe that's a pullover penalty. Just please give me the pullover.
These guys have grown up together as kids. They, they're both their dads raced together, and they basically grew up in the paddock together. So
how's that for dollars over dimes?
Yeah.
Pullover card. Would you please use that? Graham Rahal finished second in this race a year ago. Wants to improve on that by 1 spot, but he's going to have to get by Simon Pagenaud, who's out front. And at Barber Motorsports Park, I'm sure that the 15 of Graham Rahal would like Simon Pagenaud to get stuck in that spider web and maybe come back to him a little bit, because right now Pagenaud has a 4.2 second lead over Graham Rahal.
And he's doing everything he can to get by the lap car of Connor Daly, threatening homelessness.
Yeah, that's right.
He's closed the gap now. He's closer than he's been since they've left the pits, but he's not close enough for Connor to just say, I'm just going to move out of the way and get on the, what do you call that, the Oreo cookie mix on top of the,
yeah,
the problem for Connor is we're like, okay, I get out of the way, and then I pick up all this crap on my tires, and then you'll be hanging on for dear life. So it's not like it's easy to get out of the way.
Graham Rahal still with the 8, push to pass in the bag. At this point, I would think you'd have to start burning them. You've got to make a move, and we're told that Connor Daly might let him by here. Let's watch.
Going into 5.
He backed off to let
Good
him go
opportunity here. And sure enough, around goes the 15. Again, Connor Daly a lap down, one of the lap down cars, and so Graham Rahal now nobody in between he and Simon Pagenaud.
Well, he's got a long way to close the gap. It's 4.2 seconds. So now, with that kind of a gap, Pagenaud can really just kind of maintain his tires. The guy that we're worried about here is Power. He's on the blacks that last longer. So,
but here's the thing. Pagenaud is now caught Sebastian Bourdais, and Bourdais is not a lap down. Bourdais is still on the lead lap, and they have more of a right to fight to stay on the lead lap if a yellow comes out. So Graham Rahal has the horsepower in the bag with push to pass, so he could catch up very easily here.
Yeah, not only Sebastian Bourdais, he's got 3 or 4 cars in front of him, so he's got a whole train of cars to get by, and that's all of these guys don't want to finish a lap down.
This is going to give a great opportunity for Graham Rahal to close this gap. It's 4.3 seconds now that Simon Pagenaud has the advantage over Graham Rahal, and a great move there by Sebastian Bourdais.
You see Bourdais, well, the over-under here is as the other car, the 19 car, comes back on him. So these guys are racing for position and not even thinking about Pagenaud. Oh, I got to move over for Pagenaud. They're busy racing each other.
Well, and Simon Pagenaud is thinking, I want to get by, but also please don't wreck and bring out a yellow. I don't want this thing to close back up, because then I've got to deal with Rahal, my teammates Power, and even Juan Montoya, who's worked his way to 5th. Montoya would love a restart right now.
Incredible story for Juan Pablo Montoya after starting at the back of the field, already up into the top 5. 16 laps to go at Barber.
And correct me if I'm wrong here, Townsend, but I don't think Pagenaud's really going to stick his neck out. He's not a guy that's going to take a big risk with these guys, and I think that's going to allow Rahal. Rahal's already visibly closer than he's been.
I think you're right. I mean, what's the risk-reward benefit for Pagenaud, especially with the way the marbles have built up offline? Remember, no yellows this race. The officials have had no chance to sweep.
He might go for it here, so we'll see.
Pagenaud on the push to pass, trying to get by Luca Filippi in the 19. He passes him at 5.
And now he has a buffer.
But how many push to passes does he have left versus Rahal?
He'll have 2 left after this one's finished burning up. Graham Rahal still with 8.
Sitting on 8, and the laps continue to wind down. When will he go to the push to pass to try to close the gap?
Well, certainly with 8 to go, you'd be crazy if you didn't start burning it once a lap. Maybe he'll wait for 4 to go and start using 2 per lap. But he'll need it to get by Filippi.
We'll see if he can take advantage of that other traffic that is slowing down Simon Pagenaud right now. Pagano was able to get by Filippi, but there's quite a few cars still in front of that 22 of Simon Pagano.
Well, certainly it's not going to be as easy work for Pagano as it was to get by Filippi. Bourdais will make it much tougher to get by because, you know, he's a pretty tough guy to get by. He races hard, so, and doesn't want to finish a lap down to the leaders, so it's going to be harder for him.
Well, everybody in front of Pagano is fighting not only for position, but for the chance for a yellow to come out and for the whole field to stack back up. And with the amount of marbles on the track, there's no way that that can be cleaned up in time. So if we did get a restart, chaos could ensue, and you could go from Bourdais at 18th to a top 10 very easily.
Restart, you could get spun around at turn 5 like Dixon did at the start. So this race is not over by any means.
Only 3 cars not on the lead lap. Luca Filippi, Connor Daly, and Max Chilton.
And Rick, remember in the pre-race we were talking to Simon Pagano about being aggressive. That's how he's gotten to this championship lead so early in the season with the win and the 2 second-place finishes. And that was something he vowed to himself before the season started, that he was going to be more aggressive all the time. Restarts everywhere, that was going to be his MO this year. So I don't think he's going to back off at all. And that's kind of the mentality you have to have, isn't it, Townsend? If you want to win a championship right now in the IndyCar series, you've got to be aggressive all the time.
No doubt. And he learned that from Will Power, certainly, who takes every race as an opportunity to win, doesn't care much about points.
The gap that used to be 4.3 seconds between first and second is now down to under 2.8 seconds. Graham Rahal closing the gap on Simon Pagano. Graham Rahal is on a tear. Rahal has closed the gap between he and Simon Pagano. Pagano now trying to hang on to that lead as he's been stuck behind Sebastian Bourdais, but it's Graham Rahal with 8 push to pass remaining as we have just 11 laps to go in this race.
And Bourdais just let Pagano by.
His front wing is broken. I can see right here that Graham Rahal's front wing is broken right there. You see it flapping up and down. So his car is not optimal, but he's still closed the gap. Look at that wing, Townsend.
And I don't recall any contact for Rahal. Maybe that just failed, or maybe a piece of debris hit it.
Marty.
Let's chat with Kyle Moore, the strategist for Simon Pagano. How comfortable are you with this lead right now, Kyle?
Yeah, not much of a lead right now with the back markers we're trying to get through, you know. The car's really good. It's just, you know, with this aero, we're just having a problem with back markers just like everybody. But, you know, the tires are staying there, and Simon's doing really a great job. I think, you know, the PPG car all weekend's been fabulous, you know, and the guys did 3 great stops. So, you know, that's what got us to where we are, and now we just got to hold on.
Have you told him how many push to passes Graham has left?
No, we ain't telling him that.
I'm not going to tell him that because they know that number's big, and they know from watching our broadcast. Katie?
And Marty, that wing damage on Graham Rahal actually happened early in the race. So on that last pit stop, the team added some left front wing flaps to compensate for that right front wing damage. So Graham, still happy.
I'll tell you one thing that I know from my own experience. I had a wing break in Toronto, and it conserved the rear tires because front wing takes downforce away from the rear. So his rear tires are probably lasting better than the other guys, and he can push harder.
Well, I'll tell you what's lasting is his push to pass. He still has 8. If I could reach out, I want to start hitting that button on the steering wheel. Come on, Graham.
Well, he's got to get a little closer. He's got to use these other lapped cars as a pick, but he's got to get a little bit closer. We know Aloshin is very aggressive. We know Pagano is not super aggressive, and Rahal, he's as aggressive as they get.
Graham Rahal, again, has closed the gap. It's just 0.6 of a second that separate he and race leader Simon Pagano. Pagano with 2 push to passes, and Graham Rahal with 8 push to passes, as we have just 9 laps to go in this race.
And you have 2 Hondas fighting to stay on the lead lap in front of a leading Chevy being chased by a Honda. Chance for Honda at a race where they're the title sponsor.
Here. He's on the push to pass.
Rahal goes to the push to pass.
He held
trying to get by Pagano.
That line really tight, and he's going to make a move.
And a little contact there. Pagano off track.
Pagano blocked him a little bit, and they made contact.
I know, but man, 9 laps to go with all that momentum.
Now he's got 2 broken wings in the front instead of 1. So let's see what happens to Rahal's car.
Should be perfectly balanced.
A little contact there. Now do the stewards step in to look at this?
Well, I think we have to see a better angle to know, is this a block or is this avoidable contact or is this a racing incident?
It is under review. We've been told by the IndyCar officials that pass is under review now. It's Graham Rahal out in front of Sebastian Bourdais.
Well, it looked to me from the on car that Pagenaud blocked him, moved over, and then he moved over again. As we see here, Graham gets the run. He goes to the inside, and he moves over on him.
Well, I don't think so. There's a corner, Paul. There's a right-hand corner coming up.
I don't know, man. I disagree with you.
That's the racing line.
I think it's a racing incident.
We'll have to find out from the stewards, but once again, we ride along with Rahal. And again, there's a right-hander there, as you mentioned. He has to turn.
That right-hander demands the right-hand side of the track. Pagenaud was out of room to leave any room. He can't go wide through there. Rahal wasn't far enough along.
I think it's a racing incident the way it looks to me. Rahal pops out.
He has the spot.
Yeah.
And now Pagenaud comes down on him.
I think Rahal had to be further along. And listen, I don't fault him for trying. He has every right to try to make that pass, but at the point that it was left front to right rear, that was the end of the racing line. At that point, Pagenaud had to try and make the corner.
Well, we debated last week whether these officials were going to make a call, so it's on them. We're going to see if they're going to make a call or not. Now, I disagree. I think it was a racing incident, but
well,
we'll see what they say.
Now Graham Rahal's in Pagenaud's shoes. He has lap traffic. He has to try to get by, and Pagenaud has an opportunity to come back on him.
Pagenaud's only got 2 push-to-passes. Rahal still has 7, so he's got some buffer with some speed.
Able to get by a Lotion.
And that was huge for Pagenaud. Huge for Pagenaud to get by a Lotion without much of a struggle. Now they come up on Hawksworth.
Jack Hawksworth will be the next car that Graham Rahal will come upon.
Yeah, Pagenaud's got damage to his rear bumper pod. You can see his rear bumper pod's broken. It's flapping around a little bit. Definitely they touched there, but Graham Rahal has a broken front wing. He's hit it on both sides, so.
Now if Pagenaud can get to Rahal and nerf him off, does that cancel the review?
I don't think so. Nice try though, Townsend.
2 rights don't make a wrong. Or what is that? 2 wrongs don't make a right?
When did you
get all right? Graham Rahal out in front now. A year ago, finished second. Made an incredible charge to the end of that race, but fell 1 spot short. Now he's leading with just 6 laps to go at Barber.
And Pagenaud is really kind of clawed things back here. He's close. Rahal gets wide.
Pagenaud.
He's got to use that push to pass if he's going to stay in front of Pagenaud. And there's no decision yet from race control, so this is taking a while for them to make a call that's under review.
Maybe we should pop in there.
I'm sure they want your input right now.
It's a party of 3. The stewards.
Rahal on the push to pass again, trying to get by Sato.
Oh.
Sato's not letting him go by.
Sato moved to the left. That's where Graham wanted to go. Took that line away, and now Rahal still on the push to pass. It goes for 20 seconds.
I was just saying, it's a group of 3 stewards that will make the ruling.
Stewards have said no further action is required.
No action taken.
No action taken on that pass.
Well, that means either 3 out of 3 agreed or 2 out of 3. Hey, we were 50-50.
Right. You're wrong.
We were 50.
I'm right. You're wrong. It's not over. He has got to get by Sato. There's only a few laps to go. Now coming to 5 to go. And Pagenaud has closed the gap for having gone off the track. So he's got to get by Sato.
And if I'm Simon Pagenaud, I now know that if I can just get a wheel to Graham Rahal and nerf him, that it's going to be a racing incident.
Here comes Pagenaud. Pagenaud looks to the inside.
Pass.
He doesn't go to the push to pass.
But he'll have a chance here. There he is. He's on the button.
Now he's on the button. And to the outside through turn 5. They've got to get by Hawksworth. Hawksworth in the 41 just in front of him. Side by side for the lead.
The front wing's gone
comes
now.
off.
That's it. No way Graham Rahal can keep the pace with that wing gone.
Wing has come off the 15 and off course he goes.
And back on.
Pole and back on. He's on the push to pass
again.
Rahal trying to stay out front with less than 5 to go. Now coming up on 4 to go.
The whole front wing is broken apart now with the contact with
Pagenaud, be patient, be patient. Graham is damaged.
Pagenaud trying to be aggressive, which, Paul, you said we don't normally see Simon Pagenaud get aggressive.
This is where Graham will be so slow. There's no way he can make that work. Here
comes the 22. Pagenaud around Graham Rahal. Now as they go down the front stretch, once again, 4 laps of racing to go.
I'll tell you what, problem Graham has now with his injured car is he's got to hang on to second place. He's got a good gap to Power at 7.5 seconds. With all this traffic, they've still been able to pull away from Power, but now he's really damaged.
Take another look at what happened to that 15. Just a little bit too quick and trying to go by Hawksworth.
I gotta say, if he didn't damage his wing, he'd be probably under review for a blocking move here.
Well, it looked like Hawksworth just backed off to let these guys go, and Graham didn't anticipate it, and then pulled out and grabbed his bumper and ripped the front wing off.
I think you're absolutely right, Paul. That just caught Graham by surprise.
Tore the wing off. Now Graham Rahal is going to try to hang on to second as Pagenaud is trying to check out on this field. There is Will Power. He is back about 6 seconds behind Graham Rahal, but closing that gap.
The problem is he's only 3 seconds behind Graham, and he was 7 the last lap, so he could close really quick. You can see if he can keep all these lap cars behind.
Oh, a little contact there between Aloshin and Hawksworth.
I don't think Graham's going to be able to do it. He is 4 seconds, maybe 3.5 seconds off the pace per lap. Now, how about all those marbles? Look at Felipe, I think, gathering that all up on the front straight. This is going to be a mess at the finish.
3 laps to go. Graham Rahal.
You know, we've been talking about earlier the blisters on the tires. You lose the front wing, you're going to be sliding the front tires more. The wing is flapping. There might be a point when the series says you might have to come and pit.
He has to remember to use the push to passes. Don't let the damage distract you from taking advantage of the horsepower you still have.
Wings all over the track.
It was his,
and there
he was avoiding.
He's on the button, so he's doing the right thing here. Burn up the horsepower, try and hold on to a podium finish.
Right now has second. Will Power in third. But
so
again, Will Power
he's
back
virtually now
3 seconds
has
behind.
no front wing. He's got no outside flap. The inside flap, the left and right, both of them are broken. So he's virtually has no front wing on the car.
You drove half your career like that. You're an expert.
I don't think I ever finished on the podium with no front wing.
We're about to see if Graham Rahal can do just that. 2 laps to go. Simon Pagenaud out in front. He now has almost an 8-second lead. After the damage to Graham Rahal's front wing, Rahal is falling back. Will Power is closing the gap still. Just about 2 seconds separate the two.
I tell you what, the job that Graham Rahal is doing to hold off these other cars. Yeah. Look at Newgarden is now in the frame all over the back of Power, so he's closed the gap. But the job that Rahal's doing just to stay on track, I can't tell you guys how hard this is to do.
Well, and you have to feel for Graham. I mean, that contact was absolutely just a surprise. One driver trying to be courteous, and Graham just didn't know it was coming. And it's a mess on the racetrack, guys, between the debris and then all of the clag that's built up offline.
Less than 2 laps remain from Barber Motorsports Park for Simon Pagenaud. Trying to put together one of the best starts to a season since Sebastian Bourdais won 4 straight to open the 2006 Champ Car season.
Rahal running 1 minute 14 laps to Pagenaud's 1:10. So Pagenaud now completely in the clear.
So is Bourdais. I think this is going to be a wild final lap. Graham Rahal hanging on as Newgarden and Power are right there now with the lead group.
21 of Joseph Newgarden was able to get by Will Power. And so now it's Newgarden that's going to close the gap on Rahal to see if he can take second away.
Just a perfect flip-flop from last year. It was Rahal on the charge. Newgarden holding him off. Now Newgarden has a chance to come back.
What a great battle here for the final 2 spots on the podium. Graham Rahal trying to hang on for second. Joseph Newgarden, after winning last year, has moved up to 3rd. Will Power back to 4th.
And one of the things that's helped Graham, he's been using the push to pass as Pagenaud is on cruise control.
What a run for the 22 of Simon Pagenaud. It looked as though he wasn't going to be able to hold off Graham Rahal, but then after the damage, Simon Pagenaud checked out on the field Pagano coming out of 15. He'll see the checkered flag for his 6th career win. What a run for Simon Pagano. Now the battle for the podium. Graham Rahal out of 15. He's going to be able to hang on. What a run he has made without a front wing. Rahal will hold on for 2nd. Newgarden will end up 3rd.
That is mighty impressive for Graham Rahal to hang on to that car.
And when the sun shines on you like Pagano, it looked like it was all over for him when Rahal touched him and he went in the gravel.
And how about Montoya from dead last to finish top 5 in a race with no yellows?
Again, amazing. The only time we saw a yellow was before the green flag even came out to start the race. And Pagano now on a roll. Momentum. We always mention it. When you talk about racing, a guy can get the momentum going. And sure enough, Simon Pagano has done just that.
You can hear his girlfriend say emotionally they can't call that cheating. I don't think anybody accused Pagano really of cheating, but great drive.
An amazing run. You're watching NBCSN's coverage of IndyCar, brought to you by Pengrade Motor Oil. Make the grade. And by Polaris Slingshot. Feel the rush of the road with the Polaris Slingshot. Pure driving freedom. A familiar sight, the 22 of Simon Pagano in victory circle. Let's go there now with Marty Snyder.
Everybody questioned Simon Pagano for about a year when that first win for Team Penske would come. Well, now he's won 2 in a row for the captain. A lot to celebrate for Simon Pagano of late. And we certainly want to get his opinion on that late race contact with Graham Rahal. And an impressive final few laps for he and Graham. All right, Simon, your initial thought when Graham made contact with you, were you thinking in that moment, it's over?
No, I had a really fast car. It just with traffic, it was all about you know, making sure I could keep Graham behind. But I didn't see the replay. I'm not sure. I thought
There's a replay for you.
There you go. You guys are on it. You know, I don't know. It's pretty. You know, that's not a corner you can pass. So, anyways, I won the race, so I won't say anything.
But you did come back and you make the pass right here.
Yeah, I guess Graham damaged his front wing there. I didn't know he did, so I just took my chance. As soon as he saw he was struggling, I just took my chance, and then I just ran away.
You told me earlier it's flowing better than it ever has. This is the best time of your career right now, Simon.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm driving my best, having a fantastic time with the whole team. You know, Verizon's such a big supporter of us, and I'm so proud to represent them, and you know, they're doing such a great job for the series. It's great to have people like that behind us, so thanks to them, thanks to everybody. You know, that PPG car, man, 2nd time in a row we're in victory lane, and I tell you what, it's so hard to get victory lane in IndyCar that just delighted.
It's been a great week for you. I'm going to bring in your mom and Haley, your girlfriend, but to have your mom here, to have Sylvie here to celebrate this win with you, I know, what does that mean?
It's cool. It was a birthday on April 1st. You know, that's kind of a funny birthday, but I'm happy for her. My dad saw an Indy Grand Prix win, so there you go. And now my mom.
I've got to tell you, she was a little nervous at the end of the race. She was biting her fingernails.
We were all nervous for sure, but she's good. Look, there's still some nails left.
Still some nails left for Mom Sylvie, but a lot to celebrate for Simon Pagano and the entire family. Katie?
You can see the disappointment in Graham Rahal's face as he stands here on pit lane. Graham, what happened in those closing laps?
Yeah, I mean, just, you know, trying to get through traffic there. And, you know, Hawksworth went to the, well, this one, it's a nice block. So you can see just completely turns in. And, you know, that's fine. I mean, to me, it's a racing incident. He obviously came right back on, was right behind us. You know, if he's going to drive like that, that's fine. I mean, I gave him room on the outside there. Could have pushed him off. I just, Hawksworth was on the outside of 5, and so I thought he was going to stay out, and then he came across, and I just caught me out. And, you know.
Do you think Jack lifted there?
Yeah, no, he did. He was going to let us by. It was just the direction in which he was. And Simon was very good in turn 2 and 3. So I knew I had to get a good run out of 5. I was better than them in 5, but, you know, all in all, our front flap, the right front flap broke on lap 40 or something. So we were doing the whole race without the front wing as it should have been. So it was a tough battle, you know, to stay with those guys in the first place. And so ultimately, proud of these MyJack boys. They keep working hard, and, you know, here we are. It's a great result for us. We should have won today. There's no doubt we were better than him.
What message does this send to Honda?
Well, it's no message to Honda. You know, we still have to, you know, they did a good job, but we all have to continue to improve. They've done a heck of a job putting us in this position. We can race with these guys.
They definitely have some top speed on us. Following them, it was difficult, but we're getting close, and we're going to keep working hard to make them proud. And they work hard for us back in Santa Clarita and in Torrance, so not giving up anytime soon, I can tell you that.
All right, thanks, Graham.
Graham finishes up second for the second year in a row for Barber Motorsports Park. What a run, though, for Simon Pagenaud. Welcome back to Barber Motorsports Park. A very eventful finish, and nothing more eventful than the Stanley Cup playoffs have been, and they will be coming up next on NBCSN. Let's go down to pit road and Kevin Lee.
Rick, Joseph Newgarden followed up his win last year with a podium finish. You start third, you finish third, so a whole home race. Not so much. I think it was probably pretty eventful.
Pretty decent weekend for sure. It's great to go out with a great result in the Fuzzies car. We got the 100th running bottle. Everyone's been excited about that, so I was really happy to get a good result for those guys. And it's going to be a whole really fun month of May. We got JR coming back on board for the next race of the GP, and then obviously we'll all be together with Ed for the 500. So I think this is a great lead-in for our team. Really proud to be a part of this group and everything we're doing. And we were good today. I think we were there. We just didn't quite have enough for those first two guys. So we'll regroup, try and do a little bit better. But we weren't far off. So I'm pretty proud of everyone.
You got by Will Power at the end too. That's something to say. You did that last year here too.
Yeah, I got him a couple times. I think I got his card right now. So it's gonna be fun racing him all year. And I can't believe he let me do that twice to him. I got him in the beginning. I thought he'd learn better, and then it got tighter on the second one. But I was able to get him again. So it was fun at least getting some racing in today. I can't believe we went no yellows. I don't know what's going on. Everyone's just keeping their heads cool for some reason. So yeah, a little bit of racing, but obviously we would like to be a little higher up in the first position.
I know you guys work on your fitness. How challenging is it to go an entire race without a yellow?
It's tough. We work really hard on it. A lot of guys, I think, try to brush off how much we train for these type of events. I'm in the gym pretty much every day with Ed, doing what we can to get as fit as possible. So we prepare for this. It was tough. I felt like I was just leaning more and more into the seat on the right-handers as the race went on, and my left shoulder hurts a little bit now. But, they're tough race cars. They're physical, they're fast, they pull a lot of Gs. So you got to prepare for it, but like I said, we do as much as we can to be ready for these type of days.
Good show for Joseph Newgarden. Best finish of the season. Third here today, Marty.
Kevin, a long day for Scott Dixon, and it really started turn 5, lap 2, and I know that was a frustrating one. Did that completely catch you off guard when Bourdais got into you?
Yeah, I thought so. Pretty much from that point in the corner, I thought we were clear, but obviously not. But it's not what you want to happen, especially when you have a race that goes from green to checker again. And obviously we tried to do some stuff and mix the strategy up. But it's hard when you're at the back at that point. Everybody's trying to do crazy stuff already, and you just really don't have a shot to get something down. But huge credit to the Coke team today and everybody on Team Target. They did a hell of a job to salvage a 10th place. But obviously a bit rough for points with Simon. Congratulations to Simon on another victory there, and we got some work to do once we get to Indy.
How tough was it being in the back there, trying to get back to the top 10? It seemed like a struggle all day long, even though the car wasn't bad.
Yeah, the car was pretty good. I think we had the fastest race lap by almost a second, but it doesn't matter when you're starting that far back, and when you get out of sequence like that, you get caught up with some really slow traffic and you just keep losing time. So it's hard to get yourself back from that point, but we were still running at the end. We got some points, and we'll have to put our head down and try and regain.
Long day clawing his way back into the top 10 for Scott Dixon. First time ever he does not finish on the podium here at Barber, Rick.
Yeah, interesting that Scott Dixon, obviously that early spin in turn 5. Hugs all around for Simon Pagenaud, especially from the captain. That's big. Coming up next, we'll hear from Juan Pablo Montoya. Stay with us. Welcome back to Barber. Let's go to the guy who passed the most cars. That has to be Juan Pablo Montoya. Robin's with it.
Oh. All right, the story of the race, the man that started last, 21st to 5th. You said you had fun out there today, brother.
I did. Our Verizon Chevy was really good all day. I knew we had a good car. Just in qualifying, as I told you, the tires just never come in, and it's hard with this deal. You get a run, and if it doesn't work, you're out of it. And it's just a tough break, but the guys worked really hard. We worked really hard this morning, made some good changes, and car had a ton of speed today.
Did you have trouble with tires? A lot of guys blistered tires, or was it?
A little bit, but you got to manage them. So about tire management. It was fun because I liked that because the reds were a lot faster, but you could burn them off. So it was a tough balance. You wanted to speed out of after a pit stop, but you wanted to speed at the end of the run.
Was this more fun than 4 hours at Talladega?
Oh yeah, this place, I'm telling you, I had a lot of fun. We passed a lot of people. I know it was crazy old green out there again, but I think we put a hell of a show for everybody. You know, tons of passing, a lot of aggression. I like that.
All right, the 40-year-old man drove like he was 22 again.
I feel 22.
Yeah, he looks like it, Robin. He feels like it. He looks like it on the racetrack. James Hinchcliffe has dealt with that young man, Juan Pablo Montoya. Today, you're running around him much of the race. You finished right behind him in 6th. What kind of things were you dealing with today?
I was shocked to even see him there after that first round of pit stops. Kudos to him. Must have been a hell of a first stint for him. We were dealing with a little bit of everything, man. We had a really good car. We had good pace, but I think we missed the setup a little bit on in terms of taking care of the tires. We really fell off a cliff with about 5-4 to go in the stint, and that sort of handcuffed us a bit. We had to pit early, a lap or two early a couple times. Yeah, when Montoya went by, he didn't feel like giving me all the room I needed, but that's fine. That's good hard racing. You know, my tires were done. There was not a whole lot I could do to get out of his way at that point. But you know, lots of places, the 2 Penskes there, got Elio back in the stops, and we had good tires at the end. We're working on the car in the pit stops. Had pace for Montoya, but we had to save fuel at the end there, unfortunately. So all in all, you know, second decent finish in a row. We'll take a top 6 and carry this momentum into the month of May.
And I know it's tough for you guys. We talked about tire degradation so much, but it makes it really entertaining for us when you see these different life cycles of the tires.
That's what it's all about. You know, Firestone do such a good job giving us a tire that's good and fast, but then falls off just the right amount at just the right time. And it's a huge challenge for the engineers and the drivers to find a setup and a driving style that's going to take care of these things. And it does. It mixes up the racing a little bit. It makes it good, makes it fun, and puts on a good show for the fans, which I think we all like. And it's good to see a Honda up there on the podium. Congrats again to Simon on another win. That's pretty big for him, and hopefully it's our turn soon.
Thanks, Hinch. 6th place finish for him today, Marty.
Elio Castroneves starts 7th. He winds up finishing 7th today. And you were the ones who had issues with the right front tire blistering. How difficult did that make today?
Well, we not only had a blister, but we also had a cords. It was in fact, one of the laps that we had, I mean, we lost about 3 seconds because I was about to crash 3 times. And it was a shame because we had a top 5 car, not more than that. In the beginning of the race, it was we're talking about like playing chess. You have to go fast, but you have to take care of the tires. You have to go fast, but you have to save fuel. It was one, and you have to go fast when the tires are good, and then go when the tires are bad. It was like, wow, it was very difficult. You got to be thinking a lot, and I'm terrible with that. Thank God I had the best guys, which was Roger. But AAA car was running really smooth, except those blister and those cords. But 7, that's what we got.
And I know what's next, the month of May. So you're excited. I know you're excited about that. He's very excited about that. Going for his 4th Indy 500 win. That's one man who cannot wait to get to Indianapolis, Rick.
Always a smile also on Elio's face. We do take a look at the month of May. Very busy. And it's going to be busy for you, Townsend. You'll be running in the Indy 500, the 100th running of the Indianapolis 500. And like I mentioned, a very busy month of May. Also on NBCSN, it's busy because Carb Day on May 27th, the Freedom 100, NASCAR America special. What a special weekend it is, obviously. And then the Indianapolis 500 Parade. That's all on NBCSN. The 100th running of the Indianapolis 500 right at the end of May. Simon Pagenaud goes 2 for 2 now as far as winning on road courses. Graham Rahal also finishing 2nd for the 2nd straight year.
2 years in a row for Graham. He puts on the show of the weekend. Both years passing cars, like you said, like a ninja slicing up through the field. So awesome day for Juan Pablo. The same. Dixon, like you said, hard on the points.
For the rest of these guys, look out. Simon Pagenaud is trying to check out of this championship. Everybody's going to be looking to lock horns and slow down that championship run. He's done a great job.
The rookies back there, Alexander Rossi was the top finishing rookie on the lead lap. We mentioned the points after 4 races, so 4th of the way through the season, and Simon Pagenaud has really almost been flawless. 2 seconds and now 2 wins gives him a 48-point advantage on Scott Dixon.
Dixon still in 2nd in the points, but lost a lot of points to Pagenaud. Montoya up to 3rd now. Graham Rahal now steadily moving up with this solid finish today, up 3 positions in the points.
And how about Newgarden at a track where he won last year to have another great result, another podium. He jumps up 4 spots as a 1-car team along with Graham Rahal, taking it to the big boys.
And just in front of Newgarden in the points is Will Power, who missed the first race and still has made his way up into the top 10 in points. And there's the podium.
That's a nice toss.
And it's a nice one here at Barber Motorsports Park. The three up top, Pagenaud, Rahal, and Newgarden will all be celebrating throughout the night, and they have a little bit of a break before they get underway with the month of May, which will be a very busy month for them as they hoist the trophies. Coming up next on NBCSN, Game 6 between the Florida Panthers and the New York Islanders in the Stanley Cup playoffs. More than likely it'll go overtime. Be sure to join us Friday, May 27th at 11 a.m. Eastern for all the fun of Card Day from Indianapolis Motor Speedway. For more information on the Verizon IndyCar Series, log on to NBCSports.com. Congratulations, Simon Pagenaud, back-to-back wins in the IndyCar Series.